Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Minneola Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, June 1st, 2026. It is 6:30, and we are calling the meeting to order. Please rise for the moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance. Totally lost my thought.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, bringing it back to the board. All right, it's agenda review. Is there anything anybody has on the agenda?
Yeah, on the reports, it says City Councilor Flynn doing the report, so we just need to remove that moving forward, and any other agenda items, as we now have a guest in the audience, but no longer up here on the reports.
That was exactly my comment. Thank you. Anybody, anything else?
Nothing here.
Okay. All right, moving on to public comments. If there is anyone in the audience that would like to address anything that is not on the agenda, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm from Oak Valley. My name's Christian Ober. I live at 1109 Kennedy Oaks Drive. And I, as a resident, would like to know what you're going to do with your front gate. Anything still going on with that front gate? Any building going to go on? The front gate of Oak Valley?
Oh, front gate of Oak Valley.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Can you put the mic up? It's just a little hard to,
I'm sorry.
no, you're okay.
Yes, I just want to know what's going on with the front gate. Is going to be anything going on? Because we maintain that front. It's not our property. We maintain that front. So we're getting ready to spend all kind of money on doing landscaping, new water. We shouldn't even do that anyway. It's not our property. I was told that by the vice mayor at the time.
Sir, I believe you're talking about something that's on the agenda tonight, so you're going to have to wait till that item comes up
I
on the
just thought
agenda.
This is Oak
Is
Valley.
that coming up tonight?
Yes, I believe what you're talking about is,
No,
This
Oak-
is not.
Oak
This is,
Valley.
Oak Valley is a different,
sorry, excuse me.
yeah.
So the front gate at Oak Valley that you guys, Oak Valley maintains? You're
It's not
asking-
Oak Valley's responsibility, but I guess there's having issues with the gate. They maintain it even though they're not supposed to. So I guess they're asking if we can make a recommendation to council to look at it. We don't really know anything about it. It hasn't been on our agenda, so maybe we can,
Yeah, we put the decorations up. We do all the watering, we do all the lighting. It's all on us.
Okay.
It's not on Park Ridge, which I think you have the two gates. Park Ridge was here first. Park Ridge should probably have the right side, the left side going in, and Oak Valley should have it.
so is your question for who's like responsible for
We're taking
maintenance?
responsibility for the whole front section
Okay.
out to 27. It's not
Okay,
our
and is that a
responsibility.
HOA thing, or is that something that was?
That is the HOA taking care of, that the residents pay for.
Gotcha. But what
saying-
you're saying is that because it shares a gate within another neighborhood?
I personally think Park Ridge should take care of one because that was the way in and out of Park Ridge before Oak Valley was created.
Okay.
Okay, so
So we'll take some notes and we'll look into it and we'll see if that's something the city can do at all. I don't know.
I was gonna say, Joyce?
Sir, if you would, sir,
Yeah.
if you would make sure you put your name and your email and your phone number down and your address, we'll look into it for you and see. We'll look on the property appraiser and see who actually owns that. And then that would determine who's responsible
yeah, I would
for
like
it.
for somebody to put something out to Oak Valley, it's their management company, that we shouldn't be taking care of this property. That's not our responsibility.
Okay, well,
We'll
we'll
look into
check,
it.
we'll look into it. Just put your name and phone number and your email address and we'll look into it for you.
Thank
And we'll
you.
get back with you with what we find out.
Thank you, sir. As he finishes up, is there anybody else that wants to come forward on public comments?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. No one else for public comments? We will now close the comments and bring it back to the board for approval of item 1, minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting from May 4th, 2026. Are there any corrections or changes that you guys saw?
No, all looked good for me.
I'll look good to see. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second. Oh,
Okay, I have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 4-0. Moving on to commission discussion action items, item 2, Pine Ridge Amenity Center. This is a quasi judicial. Jennifer? No?
Nope, just
Just-
need Eric up.
Okay. Eric?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the commission. My name is Eric Rosh with Inspire Placemaking, here in my capacity as a contract planner to the city. This is item number 2 on your agenda. It's the Pine Ridge Amenity Center site plan. I'll run through the location of the project, outline the applicant's request, and then wrap up with a recommendation. So this one's north of Sugarloaf Mountain Road, northwest of the North Hancock Road extension. It's an existing 54.2 acre subdivision with 178 lots. It's currently under construction. The PSP was recently approved and they've already broken ground. We're here today to talk about a 0.74 acre amenity tract located within the subdivision. Here's the subdivision layout. The amenity tract is kind of on the northeast portion there, right where the entrance is to the subdivision. It's the area that's hatched, being surrounded by the right-of-way. They're proposing a covered pavilion with tables. They've got a recreation area with a couple of cornhole setups and 2 ping pong tables. They've got a fitness court and a playground. And they have no interior spaces under heat and air. And if you recall, typically that's how we analyze these sites for parking at the 1 per 100 under heat and air. So I do have a slide on parking. I know it came up at the last one right across the street, so I'll get to that in just a minute. Here are some proposed elevations of the kind of shade structure that's proposed within the plan. And, you know, just kind of touching on parking, I mentioned the 1 space per 100 square feet of public area that's been interpreted historically to be interior to the building. And of course, this doesn't have anything that's under heat and air. So we evaluated it kind of consistent with that recent Whispering Winds approval, which is immediately across the street. It's a similarly situated subdivision. They did have an enclosed area, and essentially they were providing 1 space per 23 units in the community. So this one's a little bit, I mean, it's comparable. They're at 1 space per 22.25 units per area. And I'll just note that these are intended to be neighborhood serving, walkable amenities. So the idea is I drew the 1/4 mile, 5-minute walk on the screen. You can see most of the residents have the ability to get there in 5 minutes by foot. So the idea is this is really a neighborhood serving tract. It's not intended to drive traffic from outside of the community. So if you extend it to a 1/2 mile, I mean, which is a 10-minute walk, you can likely pick up the rest of the units in the neighborhood. So our recommendation was that those 8 parking spaces are sufficient. But I understand if there's some discussion on that. We do have the applicant here to talk about their product and their design philosophy as well. But there are no outstanding comments on this one. Staff recommendations for approval, and I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
All right. Going right to left, Commissioner.
You said the applicant was available?
They are.
How are you?
Good. Mark Stelly with Pape Dawson, 2602 East Livingston Street, Orlando.
Awesome. So my main questions, I wanted to talk about the landscape design, if that's okay. The project itself, I think, is really appropriate, very beautiful. My main focus is whether the landscaping reflects the character of the Sugarloaf area. So given the location within Sugarloaf area, the regions of history, and based on the soil samples, it's a sandhill ecological system. So my question is, were any considerations given to incorporating the additional ecosystem appropriate species into the landscape?
So the landscape architect is not here tonight. The landscape being proposed on the plan is in accordance with...
Can you speak into the mic? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, the landscape architect's not here tonight. The landscaping proposed on the plan is consistent with the city's code requirements. Whether or not that is the type of landscaping or plant species you're looking for, I can't speak to. I'm not a landscape architect.
So my main question with this, and this is going an ongoing discussion that we've had at this board. So the current landscape elements that they included in their proposal was the partiocarpus, the verbeum hedges, and then they have different like common ornamental scrubs. These things, they require a little bit more water. They're not native to Florida. And I created a list of more acceptable Florida native species, specifically with the soil given in that area. The reason why for this particular project that I figured it was important to notate these things is we are currently, as you all know, under water restrictions and things like that with St. John's Water District. And so I think that this is the time to have these conversations, especially with new development coming in. We can't always do everything with some of the existing things, but we can make recommendations moving forward. So some of the recommendations that I had that would do the exact same thing that they had were Simpson stopper, Walter's verbenium, which they had some of these already. They had verbeniums on their landscape list, but Walter's verbenium is a native. Yaupon holly, and then Florida anise, and then that would be more for like the screening and hedges, which is what they had the ornamental scrubs for, and those verbenium hedges. The main difference is that the verbenium hedges that they recommended were like a northern. It's not like anything from here in Florida. For their ground cover, they had bahia, and obviously, bahia is going to be great in some of their higher traffic areas, but when you look at their plan, there was a lot of area that they had this covered. So a recommendation for a switch with this would be like a kunti, a beautyberry, mullygrass, or even any native pollinator plants. In some of their existing plants, they had pollinators, but they were like ones that were not native to the area. So the main concern, or the main reasons why I'm making these recommendations, is because it will reduce the irrigation demand dramatically. It also reduces maintenance, which I'm sure their HOA would appreciate. It supports the pollinators, supports wildlife, better reflects the area's natural ecological character. So, we are in Central Florida. We do have a lot of watershed areas, so I think that we need to make sure that we're being mindful of these things as they come about. And then it just creates like a stronger sense of place. So I think that these are things that when people are going to their park with their children, and, I don't know what the homeschool community is up there, but it is, more orientation to the area. So those are my main concerns. Everything else, I thought it was a very beautiful plan. I think that the community is going to really enjoy having these amenities. I just think that just these little adjustments will not only make it better long term, but it'll definitely create a more ecological, positive impact. That's all for me.
All right. Commissioner McCoy, you have anything?
Come back to me, please.
Okay, Bruce?
She hit the spot, so.
Just a little few things on my side. Just want to make sure that the utility easement encroachment issue that was discussed, that's all been, there's no issues with that. That's been taken care of. All easement concerns have been resolved. Are there any outstanding engineering or utility comments that we haven't addressed?
Everything's been signed off.
Okay. And it's, of course, consistent with the approval of the development originally. Okay. And we went over that, so that's all those questions I have on this. So if you have anything else, I can open it up if there's anything in the public.
Yeah, I'm good for now.
Okay.
I'm fine.
All right, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this topic? If so, please come forward. State your name and address.
Here he comes
There
with the
he is.
parking
I was like, where is he?
questions.
Brad, can you bring up that presentation? Just a couple, I kind of reiterate that, the whole, sorry, Kevin Carey, 20237 Sugarloaf Mountain Road.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, the whole area looks great, just a couple of minor things that I wanted to ask about, one, the sidewalk where you have the ramps that come down, back a sidewalk curb, maybe to prevent the grass from, or erosion in that area. The next one was in the main entrance, maybe aligning the curb ramp with the entrance to the path a little bit straighter. Right now, it's kind of offset a little bit. I don't know if you can like straighten that out a little bit more, or maybe extend one way or the other,
Certainly, so,
like right here, instead of just kind of going that direction.
yeah, just so everyone else can hear, so, we did try looking at that,
Yeah.
during the design process. Fortunately, roads and everything were moving
Already done?
forward. Yep.
Okay.
And so you see how we bumped out
Yeah.
the brick landing. So we did that on both sides to try to get that
Okay.
more aligned, because to your point,
Yeah.
we noticed that too.
A little more straight,
Obviously,
yep.
the pavers are based on the width of the
Yeah.
structure.
Yep.
And so that kind of dictates where that came in, and the
Okay.
ramps and everything were already in there.
Easy enough.
And then the other one, the sidewalk actually drains upwards into the grass, to the swale, so. that's
Okay,
why
because this is coming down here. That's what I was
and then
wondering.
it's going,
It's going that way?
yes, correct.
Okay. So that brings up the next point on this one. On here, your arrows, your drainage arrows are going to the left, and I believe based on all your numbers, they should go right.
Yeah.
So just need to correct that one.
Yep.
That was it. Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Mhm.
All right. Is there anyone else that wants to come speak on this topic? Nope. Then bringing it back to the board.
I would like to recommend approval with conditions.
Okay, we got a motion. Go for it, Nicole.
I would like to recommend approving the Pine Ridge Amenity Center while encouraging the applicant to evaluate opportunities to incorporate additional ecosystem-appropriate species reflective of the Sugarloaf's area historical sandhill ecological. Why? Ecologically. No? Yeah. We give up on that word. Words are hard today, friends. Sorry. Ecologically. Nope, it's not coming out. I give up. But that's my motion.
Okay, I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second. Ken Rose will second it.
I have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Moving on to item 3, ordinance 2026-09, annexation and rezoning of 20197 County Road 455. Jennifer, is this you now?
Chairwoman, would you like me to read items 3 and 4 together since they're related?
Please.
Great. Ordinance 2026-09 is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Minneola, Florida, amending the boundaries of the City of Minneola in accordance with Section 171.044 Florida statutes to include within the city limits approximately 4.88 acres of property generally located north of Bear Springs Road and west of County Road 455 in Lake County, Florida, rezoning the property from Lake County Agricultural District to the City of Minneola Agricultural District within the City of Minneola, providing for conditions and contingencies, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And ordinance 2026-10 is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Minneola, Florida, providing a comprehensive plan amendment, amending the land use designation from rural on the Lake County Comprehensive Plan to agricultural on the future land use map of the City of Minneola's comprehensive plan for 4.8 acres of property generally located north of Bear Springs Road and west of County Road 455 in Lake County, Florida, providing for conditions and contingencies, directing the city clerk to transmit the amendment to the appropriate government agencies pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Because both of these items are quasi-judicial, I'd like to swear everyone in who is going to be speaking on either item or both. So if you would please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. All yours.
Thank you.
Julio has a presentation on this.
Fancy.
For the city, Julio Coelho. Okay, these item 3 and 4, which includes comprehensive plan amendment, annexation, and rezoning of property of 20197 County Road 455. The general information of the property, it's located, as I mentioned, in County Road, Claremont, Florida 347515. Sorry, it's a property with an area of 4.88 acres, and the summary would be that the property owned by Judy and David Jaeger requests the annexation of the property to the city, as well as a comprehensive plan amendment of the future land use and a rezoning. Here is a side view of the different sides of the property, as well as the county road. Here is the sign view, the view of the sign which were posted in the property. As you can see here is also the survey allocated in the satellite view. Here is the property, as you can see, is adjacent to the city limits, which can be bordered by the dotted blue lines. Here is a ISBA map and the subject site in correlation with this. According to the interlocal service boundary agreement, the property, there is nothing against the annexation of that property to the city. The current zoning of the property it's on Lake County under agricultural district, and the request is to be rezoned as agricultural district under the city of Minneola. Again, the current federal land use under the Lake County is rural. And the proposed one, according to the application, is that it will be changed to agricultural. In respect on the annexation and rezoning for the property on 20197 on County Road 455, the area to be annexed is contiguous to the existing city limits and may be annexed by the city pursuant to the terms on the interlocal service boundary agreement, as I mentioned before. And in correlation to the Item 4, Comprehensive Plan Amendment, the local planning agency for the city of Minneola have reviewed the proposed to the comprehensive plan and have found that the proposed amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city of Minneola. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Before I bring it up today, I'd like to open it up to public first.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so if there's anybody from the audience that would like to speak on behalf on this, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I want to just, for the record, get it straight. I don't really like coming here. I've spent more time here than I've wanted to recently, but right out of the gate, my name's Clinton Pownell, 14205 Hunter's Trace Lane. I live in the interlocal services boundary area for Ferndale and unincorporated Lake County, and I'm affected by the annexation. It directly affects the surrounding areas along County Road 455, nearby parcels, future land use compatibility, and the accuracy of the public record. Before I begin, I would just like to ask if I could maybe talk to the children in this room, just to tell them to pay attention, that this is how government is done. Would they be okay? This is a learning experience. They're out of school. This is how you
Where's your
challenge
son?
your government. You read the first 5 sentences of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. The last one says the right to petition your government. We can talk about it, we can put it in the newspaper, we can broadcast it, we can think it, and then we can say to the government, we don't like this, okay? That's all I gotta say. Thank you for that. Well, it's very important that they understand this, so by the time they're my age, they too can petition their government once your kids are out of college and you have lots of free time. So I respectfully ask that the commission to recommend a denial of the ordinance 2026-09. If the commission is not prepared to recommend denial tonight, I ask that the item be continued until the record is corrected. The fiscal impact is calculated, and the city confirms whether renoticing is required. I'll get to why that's going to happen. So let's talk about the financial return of the city has not yet been calculated. The city's own agenda summary lists the financial impact of ordinance 26-09 as undetermined. The agenda summary for the related comprehensive plan amendment ordinance 26-10 also lists the financial impact as undetermined. And it matters because annexation is not only a private property request, it changes the city boundary and creates financial responsibilities for the city for services, infrastructure, planning, administration, public safety, and long-term municipal obligations. And before recommending approval, the commission should know whether that annexing approximately 4.88 acres produces a net public benefit to the city or whether the financial return is unknown. At a minimum, the record should include a basic fiscal analysis addressing expected ad valorem revenue, service costs, public safety obligations, infrastructure obligations, administrative costs, and whether the city receives any meaningful financial return for the annexation. Because the fiscal impact is listed as undetermined, I do not believe the commission has enough information to recommend approval tonight. I have 7 more of these. I can cite sources if you'd like, but all the sources are all the agenda packet items. Number 2, the public record inconsistently identifies the property address. Please do me the favor of leaving this slide online. The city agenda materials refer to the property as 20197. Therefore, any evidence that has been given with these slides and the material from the gentleman that have spoken here is inadmissible because the property identified is 21097 County Road 455. But none of us are going to know that in here because the documents themselves that were on the agenda and have been given to this commission are inconsistent. Both addresses are listed. So those are different addresses. This is not a formatting issue. Before the commission amends the approval, the record should clearly identify the correct subject property. If the agenda public notices an ordinance title, application packet, deed, and property records do not consistently identify the same property, the commission should not recommend approval until the discrepancy is corrected and the city confirms whether renoticing to all these homeowners is required. Number 3. Ordinance 2026-09 inconsistently describes the property as west and east of the County Road 455. The ordinance caption describes the property generally located north of Bear Springs Road and west of County Road 455. However, the first recital states the property is generally located north of Bear Springs Road and east of County Road 55. 2-0 being east, 2-1 being west. I can see how they would get confused. By the way, the addresses have odd and even numbers, so you can tell what direction they're in. That's for the kids. Number 4, the property is stated to be non-contiguous to the existing limits. Ordinance 2026 states that the area to be annexed is not contiguous to the existing city limits, but may be annexed pursuant to the interlocal services boundary agreement. I don't dispute that, but that may not be legally sufficient, but it should not be assumed. The commission should require that the city staff place the specific annexation authority, evidence to the service boundary, and consistent findings in the record before recommending approval. In other words, you've been given competent and substantial evidence without the evidence. Or just that because I say so. Number 5, stated reason appears to be personal preference and not demonstrated planning need. The applicant materials state that the owners want to live in Minneola or be in Minneola. I understand that personal preference, especially knowing the owners. However, I do not see a demonstrated need for planning, public benefit, infrastructure, or fiscal benefit that supports annexation at this time. Annexation should be justified more than by a private preference, especially when the fiscal impact is undetermined and the record contains inconsistencies in the address and the locations. Number 6, the package should clearly distinguish ag zoning from any agricultural tax exemption. The packet supports AG zoning. It does not approve or apply any agricultural tax exemption. Ordinance 2026-09 proposes to assign the property to the City Ag District, AG zoning. That is a zoning designation, but at the same time, as an agricultural tax classification or exemption, if anyone is relying on an AG exemption as part of this discussion, that should be corrected on the record. It's not stated either way. So we really have no idea what the intent is going to be. If the intent is going to be ag, you're going to get a heck of a lot less money on your ad valorem. Number 8, and I'm done. Ordinance 2026-09 appears to contain a template or a clerical header area. Actually, I'm sorry, I skipped 7. The packet contains AG. I forgot the single low family density future land use should be certified too. So if you're going to vote on 2026-09 and consider this for what I'm saying for 2026-10 or -10, would it separately change the future land use designation from Lake County Rural to single family low density? That distinction should be clearly explained before you approve annexation. If you turn around and you make it single-family use, are you going to get 3 houses on the property? Are we going to go for high density? What's going to happen to this property later? It's not disclosed, so you're going to make decisions based on knowing what the intent is. Now, getting to number 8, 2026-09 appears to contain a template of clerical header error. Ordinance 2026-09 is titled Ordinance 2026-09. All of you have that packet in front of you? Look at the first page, but on the subsequent page headers and on the footer, it references Ordinance 2025-14. Now, it may be a clerical error, it may be a template error, but it adds to the overall concern that the packet has not been cleaned up enough for approval, it's not clear, it's not competent and substantial, and that should be corrected before the ordinance moves forward. And in conclusion, for these reasons, I respectfully request that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend denial of Ordinance 2026-09 at tonight's meeting. If the City Commission is not prepared, if the Commission is not prepared to recommend denial, then I'll ask it to be continued. So again, the 8 things: did not confirm the correct property address. It's right there in front of you. Corrects the east-west 455 inconsistency of County Road 455. Corrects the ordinance 2025-14 issue. Confirms whether public notice was accurately sent out and whether a renoticing was required due to the incorrect inconsistencies of the address. Provides a legal basis for annexing non-contiguous property. Provides a fiscal impact on financial return analysis. Number 7, clarifies the relationship between ag zoning and single-family low density future land use. And number 8, confirms that no ag tax exemption is being applied or intended to be applied. The city should not recommend annexation when the fiscal impact is undetermined, and the record contains unresolved inconsistencies regarding the property address, location, legal basis, and long-term land use. The Commission's duty tonight, not you, is not to fix the applicant's mistakes in their packet. Its duty is to determine whether, for the record, before you contains competent, substantial evidence to support approval. With an undetermined fiscal impact, conflicting property address, conflicting east-west location descriptions, and unclear justification for non-contiguous annexation, I do not believe that standard has yet been set, and I therefore respectfully request that you deny. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to? Okay, please state your name and address.
Chris Perkins, 21103 County Road 455. I'm the adjacent property north of the proposed annexation. I've lived here 27 years. I've built that house myself. Spent a whole year and 40 pounds worth of my sweat to build it. The gentleman that just spoke prior to me basically summed up a lot of the issues, one of which is, for me, the applicant closed his property on the 24th of March, and within 13 days or 14 days, there was an application for rezoning. He has previously talked to me and said they couldn't wait to live out here in the country. I don't know what happened in those 14 days, but apparently that wasn't good enough based on the application that they wish to live in the city. Possibly a solution without this annexation is they buy a house in the city. Or better yet, you could have reminded them at a Del Webb, they already live in the city. So those reasons for annexation don't really pass the muster for me. This seems very quick, this whole process. And a couple questions that I have as a layman not familiar with the parliamentary procedures is there anyone that's connected with the Minneola infrastructure that will enrich themselves based on this annexation. And I know that from what the gentleman said, the issue for me is the low-density housing. We currently live on one house per 5 acres. If he gets a low-density housing, that'll put 10 houses right next to my property. You say there's undetermined financial impact? Let me give you a heads up. He puts 10 houses on his property next to mine. His value goes up, my value goes down, because I won't be able to compete with that particular piece of property. I also question whether or not this annexation is being done to satisfy a legal requirement. The requirement that might not be satisfied if they lived in the county, in the rural agricultural area. If they get this changed over to a city property, does that allow them the ability to do things when you live in a city? And for my knowledge, I would like to know that if I proposed to change the zoning in Del Webb to, let's say, city agriculture, so I can get some cows and some goats in there, would I be afforded the same 48-day fast pass, or do you need a VIP ticket for that? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
I just have a question for you, if I may. What was the intention of doing the public comment prior, like, to the questions?
In the quasi, I'm trying to hear both sides before it comes up to us to do with the thing, so I just, that procedure first.
Okay, so the only reason why I'm asking that is because a lot of the things that both of them have brought up already were things that, had we had an opportunity to talk, they probably wouldn't have spent 8 minutes on the first one. Especially because this packet was reviewed, this agenda packet item was reviewed multiple times. So based on what they were saying, it sounds like they didn't get the updated, and Christine Thompson did send us an email saying that there was an issue with the portal, and she did explain in that packet why it was originally zoned as single density, and that's not now. It's going from ag to ag. So I think there's some misinformation that the public has, and so I understand your intention, and I'm not trying to question you as the chair, but I think that if we have an opportunity to ask the questions or even give the applicant an opportunity to talk, it might release the tension in the room a little bit. Just saying, just, pressure cooker style.
As she stands, one moment.
Is she allowed to speak, ma'am? Are you stating that the public should not be speaking on this matter?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Right. I was talking to the chair. The question that I asked was the reason why chair chose the order she chose, because typically when we do this, we don't do public comments first. And so that was why I was asking that, because there seems to be a misclarification of information, and that is what I wanted to clarify before we continued on this train. Anybody who wants to speak, you can speak. It is quasi-judicial. Why are words so hard tonight? However, I wanted to make sure, because the last two people spoke on a zoning issue, and the packet had been updated multiple times, 3 times to be exact, prior. So it sounds like the information that you guys have is based on the first agenda packet we got and not the third one. I hear you. Listen, I can't argue with your 8 minutes that you took to speak in a 3-minute time. So I'm just stating the things here anyway.
First of all, I didn't. Okay, wait 1 second. I didn't say the 3-minute time, but we're also talking 2 items, so therefore I was allowing the 6 minutes because they were talking on 2 different items, 3 and 4. So I wasn't limited, and I didn't discuss the 3-minute time.
Well, I think we should just put a little more intention around this, because like I said, I think that there's a lot of confusion, and we need to rein it in.
And if they got wrong information in the packet, that's a problem too, then I see.
Well,
Say
but
that-
like I
that's
said,
the
the packets had been
All right.
updated.
I had
I
no
should
issue with
stand
either
there.
speaker.
Let's let her talk.
Young lady, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Emily Stover. I live on 21109 County Road 455 Claremont. Please go easy on me. I don't do this very often. I have resided in Lake County my entire life. I live in my grandma's former house and enjoy living in a rural community. All of our neighbors have been in this area for many years, in some cases for multiple generations, and we have worked hard to create a lifestyle and way of living that is based on mutual respect and working together with our neighbors in times of need. I'm very concerned that a nearby rural property in unincorporated Lake County is being considered for annexation. So I did some research, and this is what I found, and would like to share my concerns and ask for the board's insight to determine if my understanding is correct. Based on the Interlocal Service Boundary Agreement dated February 15th, 2013, it's my understanding that Lake County and a number of municipalities within the county, including Minneola, participated in this process. On page 6 of the ISBA, it states in part, annexation of properties which do not meet Part 1, Chapter 171, Florida statutes, specific properties. The county and Minneola agreed that certain parcels, via their alt key number, would be included in the ISBA. These parcels were identified at that time and placed on a list referred to as Exhibit B1 or B2 that could be annexed at any time. The alt key for the property that is proposing to be annexed is not included on either of these lists. The ISBA agreement also states in Part 3, Section A, concerning annexations, that areas shown on the map as unincorporated Lake County, as referenced in Exhibit A, shall not be annexed by any city unless the Board of County Commissioners consents to a specific annexation in writing, which I have not seen. With this in mind, I would like to ask the city to clarify how this property fits the requirements set forth in the ISBA agreement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else at this time that would like to come forward?
Good evening, I'm Jennifer Bennett. I live at 21127 County Road 455, Claremont. We've been out in this area for almost 30 years now, and I have to say, while we know that we cannot stop development, my hope is that we could still, in our area where we are, we bought our 10 acres, that we can still live the lifestyle that my husband and I were hoping to raise our children in and keep that way. With that, I have several questions that I'd like to have some answers to help us understand some of the questions within this application. The first is, what is the city's definition of Ag 1 low density housing? Number 2, if the city ordinance, Minneola section 102.65 states that ag zoning is only for a parcel which is 5 acres or greater, 217,800 square feet or larger, then how is the planning and zoning conditions being met for the parcel to be annexed as an ag property? Number 3, how will this zoning change, if approved, affect Mr. Yeager's taxes? If in fact this change results in the city charging city taxes, then it would seem natural that the city would be required to provide city services. With this in mind, how would this affect nearby property owners if new sewer and water lines are installed? How would adding public utilities for this one property affect all the nearby property owners? Number 4, if based on the City of Minneola's website, the zoning map amendment with comprehensive plan amendment applications lists Judith A. and David W. Yeager as the owners of the property. It states their address as 21097 County Road 455, Claremont, 34715. So based on this fact, if Mr. Yeager currently resides out of the Minneola city limits, then how is he permitted to be a current member of your city council? Does the city have residency requirements, or did the applicant fail to indicate the owner's correct address on the application? That would help us greatly to know those, because again, our way of life is being changed. We can't change what's happening across the street from us, but we can try to preserve what we have built our lives around. I respectfully ask that you deny this application, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Stover, 21111 County Road 455, Claremont.
That young woman that spoke was my daughter. Couldn't be prouder of her. So I have a few questions with respect to the ISBA, otherwise known as the Interlocal Service Boundary Agreement. It's my understanding that agreement was entered into by a number of municipalities: Claremont, Groveland, Mascot, Leesburg, Minneola. In Leesburg's case, for example, over 5,000 alt key numbers are in their B2 attachment. So my question to the board is, respectfully, if the interlocal service boundary agreement was to encompass every property within that map on A1, then why would a municipality feel compelled to add 5,000 alt key numbers? Why would Minneola be compelled to add 9 alt key numbers? The reason I think, and I'm not a lawyer, but I suspect that the alt key numbers that are identified in attachments B1 and B2 are in fact the parcels that are able to be annexed via the ISBA. Properties that are outside of those specific alt key numbers would need to go through a different process, which, as Emily mentioned, must have the written approval of the county commission. So I think fundamentally the flaw is the understanding interpretation of the application of ISBA. That'd be number one. I understand I got up to 6 minutes since there's 2 items on the agenda. And I just made some notes. I wanted to thank you for bringing up your points about Florida-friendly plants and how that community that was talked about a few moments ago impacts, and I believe the word you used was how it interacts with the community around it. As everybody has spoken to, most of us have lived on those parcels for 25, 30 some odd years. In our case, we have 3 generations of our family that live on that 20-acre parcel of land. I also built that home. I also built my mother's house that my daughter lives in now. So you're talking about people that have put our sweat and our equity and our tears in building a rural lifestyle. And to annex that property that's not contiguous based on your own amendment, you acknowledge it is not contiguous, I think fails to interact and to present itself in a way that's consistent with all of the families that are sitting here behind you. Your own city ordinance states that the minimum lot size for an agricultural property has to be 5.0 or greater acres. The parcel in question is 4.88 acres. So based on your own ordinance, it fails to meet the minimum lot requirement. You had mentioned this is a quasi-judicial. I've never been in a courtroom, so I hope I'm not saying the wrong things here. But to me, the way I understood it, that means that you, in effect, have the same impact as a court of law. We just don't have a judge sitting there. I may be wrong, but that's my layman's impression of it. With that in mind, your own ordinance states that the signs on your website, y'all's website, states the sign has to be placed in such a way that from the top of the sign to the ground should be 6 feet approximately. If that man wants to put that up, y'all can see that white fence. That fence is going to be a 4-foot fence, I'm sure. It's a 3-rail horse fence. The sign is about 2 feet from the ground. So again, from a quasi-judicial point of view, the signs are improperly placed and potentially have failed to provide proper notice. Because you put the signs on 455 and people are supposed to go down that road 45 miles an hour, everybody goes down at 60. I doubt half the people pass it and didn't know it was there. I appreciate your time. I respect you have a difficult job to do. But I honestly want to convey to you as much as I can. This means something to us. It's not just an amendment. It's our lives. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. Bobby Barrett, 21055 County Road 455. And I too would like to ask that this request be denied. In my opinion, cities are intended to serve as economic and social hubs of activity and should not serve as the means by which urban sprawl can take place. If the subject parcel is approved, the city will in essence change the character of an existing rural agricultural zone property for as long as can be remembered to a low-density housing tract, which would seem to contradict existing zoning and be incompatible with adjacent properties. Has the Planning and Zoning Board considered the fact this property is zoned low-density residential will simply add to what many of us would consider urban sprawl and not protect existing county planning and zoning rules? And I'm sure, you know, the taxes that would be incorporated vis-a-vis this might be something that interests you, but not something we're interested in. Anyway, I just want to reiterate what everybody else has said and ask that it be denied.
Okay. Thank you, Bobby.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Brian Court. I live at 21067 County Road 455. I think everything's been covered, and I don't think I really need to say too much. The only thing I would like to show you, if I was more prepared and knew how this was going to work out, I probably would have had a slideshow for you, but I don't know if you can see this from here. All of these 13 parcels right here represent all those people and that gentleman right there.
Mm-hmm.
This little teeny tiny sliver amongst that 13 is the property in question. I wish I had a slide for you. I can leave this with you if you'd like, but pretty much all I have to say about it other than our way of life is, yes, we do things a little different. I don't know how this is going to affect how people having cattle, chicken, things like that. Some of our neighbors, we like to shoot guns. We like to practice target shooting. Is that going to be a problem in the future? It's looking like it's going to change the way of our lives, and we came out there for a reason. So we understand we can't stop the building around us, but right within us, I feel like we have a voice and we should be able to say something. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Gene Torres, 21083, County Road 455. I've been in the area now for the last 42 years in this area. I moved here from Key West, way down there, to this area. But when I first saw Lake County, I loved this area of Lake County. So we settled right there, and we have enjoyed it. It's been like an oasis. It was a time when we didn't have that much traffic. But we see what we're dealing with today. And what I'm trying to say is my daughter just recently, she lives in Mondora, and she came up and she saw all that gone, you know, the front of our house. You know, we've been hurt already. And now to be able to be annexed, you know, to be rezoned and to annex a property, I would have a difficult time voting for this, rezoning this area to annexing it to Minneola. So anyway, I just want to go on record that I'm not in favor of what's taking place nowadays. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Tom Moore, and I live at 21135 County Road 455. I'm part of this group of 13 or 15 neighbors. We represent around 200 acres in that area. I moved out here about 4 years ago. We looked for property forever, and we were looking for a rural environment. And, you know, I knew that 455 was a designated scenic byway. And we look for ag property, and I live behind the Bennett's, so I'm actually off of 455, so I'm even more remote than some people that live right on 455. And I'm going to ask you to deny the motion. And I'd also like to ask if in fact this property is not part of this ISBA because the alt key number is not listed there and it's not contiguous with the rest of the city, then it seems to me like it would not be appropriate to annex it if those two things are true. So I'd like to find out whether that information is accurate or not accurate. If the alt key number is not listed and that property is not in the ISBA and it's not contiguous, and it doesn't seem to me like you could go forward with this at all. So I'm going to ask you to deny as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Is there anybody else?
All right, Mike Smith from 2767 Purple Meadow Court, Minneola. So not one of the ones that lives right next door to where this property is, but I do have some concerns, many of which have already been covered to some extent. First, I would say, as the other gentleman pointed out, I say there's improper noticing on this because the signs were clearly not as required by the code. You couldn't see those things down on the ground. It's like you had to, never going to see them. Then I hear the commission up here talking about we didn't have the right information. We don't have the right information. You have more information than we had, and yet we're supposed to be here responding to what you have, not the fact that you've got things that we don't know about. So if we don't have the proper information and you come out and change the agenda package at the last minute, it doesn't give us the proper notice to be able to make cogent arguments to you about what it is that's within the package that you have in front of you. And so for that, I would ask that you either deny or table this at this point in time. We heard this whole thing about this not being consistent with the adjacent properties. And it's not only not consistent with the adjacent properties of the individual homeowners that are living there now. This is kind of a weird thing to have somebody within the middle of a community want to, in a sense, secede from that community. It's like, why did you buy there if you didn't want to live there? But the adjacent properties are mixed use, and we're going to make this ag. It doesn't make any sense to me as to how we are seeing this as being consistent with what the city's plan is for future land development. Because it's surely not that we're going to develop that side of the road because there's nobody else over here, as I've heard, that's saying, I want you to annex my property too because I want to become ag. They're happy where they're at in the county. So I go back into the whole thing, and Clint asked this question, and some of the others did too, but where is the benefit to the city? What is it that the city is gaining from this application? I know it's a voluntary desire by this individual to come into the city. And I think I know why this individual wants to come into the city, because he used to live just 2 doors down from me, and now he can't serve on the board because he's not in the city anymore. He doesn't reside in the city. He resides this house. So that's a different problem somebody else raised as well. So I asked the council or the commission here to think really hard about what is it we're trying to do? What are we trying to do with the city? What are we trying to bring into the city if we're growing it? It doesn't seem like we're bringing in something that is growing the city, but instead is like this sore thumb point, this thorn that's going to be sitting out there, and why did it come into the city? So I would ask you to, at a minimum, table this until we get the right information to provide you with the answers or the questions that you have to this, or to deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to come forward? All right, if there is nobody else, I will then close public comments and bring it up to the board. Going this time left to.
Have the applicant?
Well, I figured, yeah, well, yes, the applicant can come forward. Figured they would be anyways. Please come forward.
Dave Yeager, 2750 Purple Meadow Court, Minneola, Florida. Chairman, in the 15 years that I've been in this city since '94, been on the P&Z for 15 years, and the first time I've ever seen that you brought your brother up before you would have the applicant in front of you. A little odd at best. I bought this property to keep it ag. It is contiguous, and like your brother said, it's on the east side. Well, it's on the west side, because he still thinks St. John goes south. So that's a little funny. The address on the application is wrong. On your paperwork tonight, it is wrong. The signs that I got from the city. I intended to keep it ag. And the city used to have to be contiguous to annex. Well, the city has done some annexation that wasn't contiguous, as long as it was in the area. Been here a long time, had 10 homes, 7 in Minneola. Going to stay ag, that's the whole deal. I believe this time, since you don't feel comfortable, pull the application, I'll reapply, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.
have questions for the applicant.
Hi, I'm Judy Yeager, and I'm also an applicant. And I'd just like to address everyone and say this. We don't want to change anything and build any extra homes.
Judy,
Ma'am,
could you please address?
I
you're
don't
speaking to
want
them,
to
but
change
please-
anything
right,
and
okay.
change any of the homes and add homes to our property. That's not what we did. Ag is ag.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to keep it, the property that we have. We're not trying to offend anybody or change anything or hurt anybody. We're doing this for the reasons that we're doing it. But I just want to say that we love our property, and we love Minneola too, and we want to be a part of Minneola because we love Minneola. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy. Okay.
It'd be nice if we had proper information for everybody tonight. Since I didn't use my 6 minutes, can I make one point?
you lost your 6 minutes.
No. let's-
Comments are closed.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's close the comments and. They're yeah, no, that's the applicant too. I want to bring it back up to the board at this point. Thank you though, Mark.
Dave? You bring Dave? You said you wanted to bring the applicant?
No, they already came, yeah, no, I meant, that's why they came up, and I just had closed it. Go ahead, comments,
I just had some questions for the applicant, Mr. Yeager. Obviously, the property is located at 21097 County Road 455 in Claremont. Is that correct? It's 21097. 21097, according to the tax records, correct. You and your wife currently reside there, is that correct? We have 2 homes, yes, sir. You reside there, though, that's your residence? I do at both homes, thank you very much. Okay, I know 2750 Purple Meadow Court is for sale. Yes, and that has nothing to do with this hearing. No, it doesn't have anything to do with this hearing. I'm just questioning it because 2750 Purple Meadow Court is vacant. There are 3 bar stools and a table in that, so I don't think you're residing there.
Obviously, this isn't what the hearing's about, but obviously, you don't know Mr. Murphy lives there, and I stay there sometimes.
The home is vacant, sir. There's no furniture in the home.
Sir, would you like me to take you there?
Sure.
Because,
Okay,
see,
Ken.
here's the problem with the planning and zoning.
Ken.
You guys don't keep on task, has nothing to do with
No.
any of that. No, wait a minute, has nothing to do with any of that. You got your brother up here. And
No, I got-
So here's the deal.
This
That
is
has
not-
nothing to do with anything.
No,
No.
I understand.
Has
You are,
nothing to do
you
with
are
anything.
correct. My
Yeah.
question was,
I know, I'm.
are you residing in Claremont
The
or
question
at
is,
Plum
I do
Meadow?
both places,
Okay.
and it's none of your business. Thank you.
Okay.
Ken, let's keep it on to the track on these questions, on this thing. It doesn't, he is still a property owner at this point. It doesn't, it could be a gray line, gray area when it comes with what you're questioning.
There's
I
no
don't wanna
gray
bring that
area.
up.
I've done this many times since '94, and there's no gray area. I own a property.
In
I-
Mineola, right,
In
with your
Mineola,
name on it.
yes.
That's what I'm
Correct.
saying. It
Anybody can
could be
own a
what he's
property in
questioning,
Mineola.
I'm saying, I'm not arguing that point. I'm just trying to keep it on this topic, on these 2 things. So if you have any questions related not to his current residency.
Well,
or
I think we
just
need to.
These 2 items.
I think
that
we
I'm
need to
at.
stay focused because at the beginning of his first statement, he did say that he was willing to table this. And so I think that we're getting off topic. So he did say that, so I don't understand why we're still asking questions because he already said that he would table the item and that he would address the concerns of the public. So the fact that we're continuing this right now, we're just stirring a pot that doesn't need to be stirred. Again, the pressure lid, the cooker, I think we're at full capacity right now. So
And the whole deal of the Planning and Zoning Commission is to stay on topic, and that wasn't on
okay,
topic.
I hear you, but now we got this, and I think that at that point, we just need to honor the fact that he is willing to table it. I also think that we need to make sure that in tabling this, that the signage is properly posted, because obviously it was not. If the signage also needs to go into the newspaper, I think that that's something that needs to be looked into as well, because I know that sometimes with items like this, it does go into the Claremont Sun. I was about to call it the old name. So I think that we need to just make sure all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed, because I know Christine Thompson at the beginning of the week has mentioned that the portal was down. That was not the city's fault. We had issues with that. So I think that with the applicant recommending that the item is tabled, then we need to just follow in suit. And
Can
I
I
don't think
say-
there's anything
I
else.
was just confirming his residence.
I understand.
Because there was a statement on their application that I wanted to ask them about. So
Yeah.
that's why I was confirming residency.
But in the application, if you saw that it was changed, I mean, that's part of the issue, because if you look at the application was changed 3 different times.
All right. If we're going to table this, then we're going to make a motion to table it. And then
I make a motion to table the item with the, with the conditions that I
we
stated.
need a date. If we do table, is that correct? Don't we need a date?
We can re-advertise it.
Yeah.
So it does not have to be a date certain.
Thank you.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved to table. I got to make all my notes. Hold on.
Can we take a collective deep breath, please? Because y'all know I be needing that, my nervous system. We just
I'm
inhale
good.
through the nose.
We can move on.
Anyone
get
with
my notes
me,
back
exhale
together.
through the mouth.
Yes.
Yes, if it's tabled here, it's tabled. Yeah, they can't talk about it tomorrow if it's, yeah.
Correct.
No, it has to go back out. So now you all can breathe with me if you'd like.
Okay. We are moving on to, that was 4 and 5, right?
Yes,
Yep.
so item 5.
Item 5.
Oh, we're on item 5.
Yes, we're on
Thank
item
you. I
5.
lost my spot, okay.
And, yeah, Eric will talk about items
Wait
5
one second.
and 6
As you
are actually
exit,
related.
could you please keep your voices low? If you if you go to the back area, please, we can hear everything even in the hallway. So please either exit and keep your voices down. I appreciate it while we continue the meeting. Eric, item number 5.
All right, thank you again. For the record, Eric Rosh with Inspire Placemaking here in my capacity as a contract planner. Items 5 and 6 are generally related. I do have 2 separate PowerPoints, so we'll just start with item number 5. This is a site plan for what's known as Minneola Commercial, it's previously known as US 27 in Vino. You may recall there was a special exception and some variances granted for it previously. I'll walk through that history here in a moment. I'll speak about the location of the project, the request, and then some additional comments and a recommendation at the end. So this one's west of 27. It's just south of Vino Road, which provides access to a subdivision that's immediately to the west. The entirety of the property is 21.6 acres, and there's a proposed gas station at 1.2 acres and a proposed grocer at 6.22 acres as part of this request. It's zone B1, so it's not within a PD, so there are no specific design standards like you would otherwise find in the Hills or Sugarloaf. And as I mentioned, the special exception for the gas was approved in August of 2025. That's the same meeting where a couple of variances were approved as well. So the request here before you tonight, and this is generally consistent with the layout that was shared during that special exception process. You may recall that the gas station was initially proposed for the hard corner of Vino and US 27. The applicant, at the request of some of the residents, elected to move that further south, further from the residential entrance. So you see it here on the kind of the bottom of the screen. That's a 4,852 square foot convenience store and gas station, and then there's a 48,000 square foot grocer and a 3,000 square foot liquor box, which was also approved in August. They're proposing 32 parking spaces for the convenience store and 256 for the grocer, both exceed code minimums. Here's the gas station layout just in general. You can see the 32 parking spaces. It's just under 25 feet in height, which meets code. The elevations here for the grocer. And the applicant and I had a conversation this morning. We are going to continue to work through what I feel are the last couple comments on these elevations. So I would request the ability to make minor modifications to that before we go to City Council for their consideration. Here's the elevations proposed for the 7-Eleven. These are generally consistent with what was shown during that special exception process hearing. We did have one comment. You know, there's a requirement in code that requires the main structure and any out parcels to really have the same design aesthetic. So that's part of the conversation with the applicant, ensuring that the grocer and the convenience store work from the same design palette. You'll notice that the grocer is generally gray in nature, where the convenience store is generally tan. I'm sure that's due to some corporate requirements, but that's something we need to work through prior to council. With that, staff recommendation is for approval. And just to confirm, this is only for the site plan for the grocer and the 7-Eleven. This is not subdividing the property. This is not authorizing any development on any of the additional out parcels. Those will all come to you on their separate applications. So with that, I'm here for any questions, and the applicant team is here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So, go ahead with the questions.
I think the applicant wants to speak.
I'm not the applicant speak. Didn't see him. I'm looking at my notes here. Sorry.
I have my
I'm all
quiet
lost and
shoes on
confused.
today, sorry. My name is Jimmy
Recognize
Crawford. I'm with the law firm of Crawford, Modica and Holt, 702 West Montrose Street, Claremont, Florida. And I do represent the applicant here. And we have representatives of the applicant, who is Blackfin Investments, and that is Nathan Landers and Steve Lepusky, who some of you will remember presented last year when we came through this process for the first time. And for technical questions, we have Derek Ramsberg and Max Brewitt of Kimley Horn, who are the project engineers. And I don't really have anything to add at this point, other than we'd like to listen to your questions, any questions that the residents might have, and try to answer them.
Okay. Thank you.
I got a question right off the bat. Sir,
Jim?
I think the last,
Mr. Crawford?
Yes, I'm
I
sorry.
think the last year we had this conversation, there was supposedly be a meeting between the community and the developer, or you, has that happened?
There were meetings. They were prior to the city council approval of the special exception and the variances. And for more details, I can bring up the owner, because they didn't invite lawyers to that meeting. So, smart, but we'll have them address that when they come up.
Commissioner Martin, do you want to add anything?
So I think the main thing, because this project directly backs up to this established neighborhood, I think that the strong buffering is really important, and it's still some questions that I have based on the current renderings. So my first question is, what percentage of the existing canopy is being preserved? Because there's a lot of canopy cover back there already.
Okay, and I'll have to let one of the designers answer
That's fine.
that
Most of my
question.
questions are going to be ecological based, so if you want that person
Yeah.
to come up, I can address that person directly.
Whether it's Max or, not Steve, but of course Derek, who wants to handle landscaping kind of questions. Okay.
Good evening. Derek Ransberg with Kimley Horn. So I'm the engineer on the project, but we are also taking 200 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32801. So as far as the natural buffer, just because of the grade change with all the stormwater ADA requirements, it's kind of hard to keep that grade. So basically, and also per another thing that we locked in for zoning is we have a 10-foot berm that's going to help buffer the existing residents. So we don't have existing natural trees, but we have planted a full row all the way down with hedges, tall
So
canopies.
you're removing 100% of the existing canopy?
On that backside, correct. It's about a 30-foot grade difference, so it's not physically possible to keep it.
So that means 100% of the existing trees are going to be removed?
100% of the existing trees on that backside, correct. And as you'll see in the site plan application.
And
we
what
have
about overall throughout the project? How many existing trees are going to be removed,
it's not a high percentage, but we do have a whole tree mitigation plan that's per code, and we're meeting all of our tree replacement area as well as contributing to tree mitigation bank.
Okay, so I saw in your plan that you had some native plant species. You had live oak, Florida elm, the Walters verbenium, kootenai, you had the wapuan holly, and then you had the fakatachi grass. However, you also had Japanese blueberry, which is not native, crepe myrtle, which is not native. You had the portacopis, which is not native. You had blue days, which is not native. And then you had a widespread of bahia grass, which is also not native. So you're removing a large percentage of the trees throughout the property. We're keeping no existing canopy for that back buffer area. And you're suggesting to plant these other trees that existed, live oak, things like that, in replace of. However, you're putting them in as babies. So my direct concern is not only the ecological impact that you are going to have on this environment, which is mostly trees currently, but also the impact that the neighbors are going to have, because it's going to take 10 to 15 years, 20 years for that live oak to do anything. So I'm really concerned with the design impact on this and the ecological standpoint. At this point, with the majority of the trees, and I have walked that property, being oaks, and it is a sandhill ecological system, which is all that sandy substrate. You already have existing animals. They're going to be displaced into that neighborhood, which we've seen multiple times before, and you're not replacing it with anything viable. So I would like to see some sort of consideration to some of the existing canopy back there. I think that this is a huge non-negotiable, especially with the fact that you have 2 easements, and in those easements, that's where you wanted to put bahia, or when you wanted to put the bahia. I think that's where you need to be mindful that those are water easements and they should be treated like a wetland, so that the ecological plants that you invite into that area should be mullygrass or other things that are sustainable to create that buffer and the imprint so that the animals are not going into the neighborhood.
We're happy to look at replacing some species to meet the criteria, but to go back to the point about, part of our zoning criteria was to increase the buffer. Per zoning criteria, we're required to have a 20-foot buffer. We have about a 150-foot buffer. We have a stormwater pond. We have a 10-foot berm. There's significant concessions that we've made to get to this point, but being able to keep the existing trees just isn't possible. But that's why we agreed to those other concessions.
Well, and like I said, I think that the more consideration specifically for those easements, having a 150-foot buffer is great, but if it's all bahia, it's doing nothing, especially for the existing species that live there, not the trees, the animals. Mm-hmm. My biggest concern is for the neighbors, and I know I see some of the people who live directly behind it, so I'm sure we'll hear from them in public comments, but we just had an incident here in Minneola where a black bear went through the neighborhood. How do you think things like that happen, right? When you remove all of this ground cover and you're replacing it with bahia, then we're creating like this influx where we're creating areas that look nice and it looks like a large buffer, but if the buffer doesn't have the ecological imprint, then it's useless, right? And so we need to make sure that, if we can consider being intentional about those easements being wetland species and making sure the flora is aligned with that, and also figuring out if there is any way to save more existing. So if it can't be saved back there, the existing canopy cover, where can it be saved on the property? And if you can, show that in the design, I would love to see that, because I think that this isn't a property that's been cleared off. This isn't a property that was used for ag. The property is existing as a sandhill ecosystem. And so this is going to be a pretty significant environmental impact. And I was looking at the soil surveys done to see what the drainage is like, and it's still operating as a sandhill ecosystem. So I would like to hear more ways, and again, when it comes down to recommending for council, it's going to be that we're making those considerations, because the bahia is like a hard no. And that, great, we did 150 acre increase, but putting it in bahia, that takes water, and it's gonna not work as the easement. So those are my concerns, my main ones anyway. My biggest, again, just to kind of go on to this, given the importance of water conservation, again, I mentioned this earlier in the meeting, but was the consideration given to utilize the landscape palette more heavily based on the ecosystem appropriate species that would require less supplemental integration long-term. So, throughout all, and this is talking about in the actual design where you had the little grocery store or whatever, that all of those, that's where you had some of those high water impact areas where the crepe myrtle and all those things are. They take a lot of irrigation. And right now we're under a restriction of using water. And so I would like to know if those things were even considered in the design at all.
Like I said, I'm not the landscape architect, but I will pass all this stuff back to them and let them readdress it. Yeah, as far as the species are concerned, that's all I got.
And
I'm sorry, Ms. Moore.
no, go ahead. No, and I just had one more. Does anyone here know if there was a comparison performed regarding the irrigation? So what, between the proposed landscape palette versus a more ecosystem environment, was there any irrigation comparison done?
There's a schematic irrigation plan in the back of the plan set.
Right, but I mean, was it in comparison? So the schematic was based on the design that you currently have. Was there a comparison to what a more ecological, sustainable environment would be? So it was just, this is what we want, this is the irrigation, and this is what it's gonna look like?
Not that I'm aware of, but we can look at that.
Okay. All the rest of my questions are about plants. So being that their plant people aren't here and they answered the majority of those questions, I think I'm okay for now.
Okay. Commissioner McCoy?
I'm good.
Rose?
Well, the only thing I'd like to add is I would like to see consistency of structures. I know you have two different businesses in there and branding is very important, but if we can maintain a overall consistent look of both of them, still giving them their own identities, we would like to see something like that.
And we certainly agree with that. We've been working with Eric. We are dealing with corporate entities that have their own stuff. And it's always, we want to cooperate every way that we can. We really do. I think we've demonstrated that over the last 18 months. But the code says they shall be like architecturally compatible. That may not be the right words, I'm not sure.
Similar yet different,
but
I guess.
Yeah, it's a scratch your head and what does that mean kind of thing. But before we get to city council, we will absolutely have further discussions with staff, and I'm sure we're going to make some changes to the architecturals of both.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have no further questions.
All right. Some of my questions might be answered. Kevin, were you planning on doing anything on coming up on this parcel? You're good? Okay.
Yes, I do, but
Yeah,
Come on.
because I think some of the questions I have might relate to some of the things that you may be asking on, so I'd like for you to come up before I go on. Save
Thank you.
Sometime. Thank you.
Oh, I thought it said PSP up there.
No, it's just for the next item.
I'm sorry, forgive me. I'm looking up there.
I'm going to say
Go right ahead. Sorry.
I know that you wanted Kevin, just Eric Hernandez, Vice Mayor and 1692 Emily Ridge Road, Minneola, Florida. Just to let you know, I was just talking to Joyce. The corrective square footage has not yet made it to council to vote. So FYI, they are increasing their square footage. So it has not yet made it to council. FYI. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I know this isn't musical chairs. We abandoned the increase in the square footage. The square footage is going to be within what was approved by the council.
And I believe that was updated in that packet as well. So again, if
Kevin Carey, 20237 Sugarloaf Mountain Road. As Brad kind of brings this up. So here's some of my concerns. Okay, there it goes. Okay, first is there's some changes to the site plan. The traffic study was still the same. So if you look at the intersection of Vino, Sullivan, where it's going to be a brand new signal, it used to be a dual left going eastbound. Now it's a single left. If you see on your screen, the red line indicates the queue of cars that will happen every cycle. The green line indicates the additional queue that's backing up inside the property, based on the traffic numbers that are there in the PM peak. So I put some calculations there that kind of show the different, how I came about the numbers. So what you're gonna look at is, because there's only a single left, you're gonna get a continuous queue in there, and so the residents trying to get out are gonna have a hard time getting out because there's nowhere to go. Because they're gonna be constantly filling in, or I'm sorry, the green line is all the people that are be turning right and they're going through, they're kind of waiting in the queue. So there's really no place to put everybody that are coming out of this property based on the traffic volumes. And that's on this next slide here. You can see that you have going eastbound, you have 314 lefts during the peak hour, 35 throughs and 72 rights. So the 314 is the red line, the 35 and 72 are the green line on your screen. So that just comes out of their volumes. So concerns I have there is that how are we going to get everybody out when they're constantly backing up in there? There's going to be nowhere for them to go. Some of them probably figure out and go out the other entrance down at the southern end, but it was a dual left before. I don't know how we change it to a single left. The dual left would have provided a little bit better. In the design here, you have on the northern end of one of the parking lots here, you have angled spaces that are aimed the wrong way or oriented the incorrect way because you have a two-way traffic in there. So as people are going down the aisle, you have back-end parking almost, but it just looks odd. I don't know if that could be changed. Normally, you do like a 24-inch stop bar for being consistent, but the MUTC does allow you to do a 12-inch throughout the property. The other issue is with the amount of volume that's coming out of there, there really isn't any pedestrian crossings to get from the neighborhood on the one side to the grocery store on the other side. Maybe consideration be given to giving some kind of a crossing on this side, somewhere in the intersection would be helpful. On this intersection, the mast arms for the traffic signal on the side street are too far. They got to be less than 180. You have one that's over 182. So that just needs to be looked at. The crosswalks are 6 feet. DOT requires you to have 10 feet on those. Then normally they want you to do high emphasis crosswalks, not just the 12-inch bars. And there's some 100 feet solid white needs to be provided too for their approaches on the lanes. The other one that's at the southern end, this kind of got cut off. The southern end, the gas station driveway, that driveway is 36 feet wide, which is like 3 traffic lanes. So right now it's just a stop bar. You have 2 18-foot lanes basically in there. So if you're trying to prevent people from turning left, probably ought to try to stripe some of that out. I mean, yes, you need it for the trucks to turn in, but we should have some kind of delineation to make people, encourage them to turn right. Right now, it's just wide open. So nothing there really encourages them to turn right except for the right turn only sign that's there. On this one, on the northern end, 2-4 skip is not used on turn lanes, it's 610. So that needs to be modified. That's only on lane drops. This one is the retention pond on the northwest quadrant of the property. This is the outfall pipe, and I've highlighted, it's a little hard to see in the screen, but every pond in this property drains to this one. If it fills up, the next one fills up to the next one, it ends up here. This mitered end section at the end just empties out into the property, and the person that's on the corner there, their property is about 6 feet, 8 feet lower than the end of that mitered end section. So the water is going to go somewhere. So that's just why, I mean, granted, will that happen? Maybe not. It's sandy soils, they usually perk. But in this case, you have something that's discharging into a residential area. So just a concern on that one. The site lighting for the property I put on here was not provided as part of the submittal, only for the gas station. So I would think the residents here would like to see what kind of lighting is being provided on the property itself, not just the gas station itself. And that's all I had. Thanks.
Okay. The applicant can.
Did you want the clicker?
No.
You good? Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, actually, maybe it'll help.
All right.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. So going through The first one, so the dual lefts, we originally did have dual lefts proposed, from a comment back on June 30th in 2025. We were asked to remove the dual left and keep it one. So that is how we got there. For a lot of these on-site ones, we don't have any objections to it. We're happy to make these adjustments. We're just running it by the end user and make sure that's okay, and we'll swap those. We agree, think it's a better idea. We don't necessarily have an issue with this either. No problem with that. A lot of this DOT stuff, the signal in the intersection, we're still in final design with FDOT on that one. So we're still submitted for our access permit. So we're gonna go through a bunch of this stuff with them still as well, and we'll obviously be subject to whatever FDOT requires. So if they ask us to make those, we will happily make those. This one's similar. The right turn movement, I mean, we could maybe put like a right turn only painted on there, but it is a raised median with only the left turn, so it would be difficult for somebody to make a left out of there. But again, with this one, we don't really have an issue with it, but we'll.
Well, DOT is going to require you to put wrong way arrows and things like that on
Yeah.
there for the wrong way movements. Because we have such an instance of people driving the wrong way, just provide more,
Yeah.
I mean, paint is cheap.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more would definitely help out.
And we're thinking of doing maybe if that wasn't the case, if we did a right turn painted stripes on there.
Even that, if you have a
Even
wide
that.
lane,
Okay.
you really should neck it down.
Okay,
Very wide lane.
we can discuss that with them. This one, we'll run it by DOT as well. For this one, so part of our state jurisdictional requirements with St. John's is to maintain historical drainage patterns, and this is the low site. So technically, all 20 acres, or the vast majority of it, does discharge in this direction. I will say that we're definitely making this significantly better than what it was. So in the 100-year storm, which is a 1% chance storm, there's like a half a CFS that comes through that pipe, and that's with pretty conservative stormwater modeling. As Kevin mentioned, the soils are very sandy, great percolation. I would be very, very, very surprised if you ever see water come out of that pipe. There was another option that we did propose in the beginning, which was a direct connection to the storm pipe that's running along Vino. It all goes the same area, but we were actually told that we couldn't do it because it is a private system. In our opinion, it all is connected to the same area anyway, but if that's something that you guys want us to do, we could do that as well. Then, in the satellite, we provided it, we sent it to Eric today. We didn't have it in the packet, but we'll make sure it's circulated.
I believe I think on lighting, you're talking about, like, I believe the recommendation was to make sure there was dark lighting as well, too, for the whole thing. So you will be providing that?
Yes, yes. It was provided this morning, just for some reason wasn't in the plan set.
Okay. You good, Kevin? Okay.
Yeah, it would be nice to look at that before, it gets approved any further, just because
Yeah.
it affects everybody, behind. So, and the thing about the drainage, that we have an issue on Sugarloaf too, that I'll bring it up to council in July, but yes, they're supposed to maintain, they can discharge the amount of water that's there normally, but my argument is it's discharged over 300 feet, and now you're putting it into one 18-inch pipe. So it comes out, we have that same issue, we have a whole pond, and when it overflows, it comes out of one pipe into one property, not 8 properties. So you're focusing, I think there's a disconnect here, and they're allowed to do it, but you're putting all of that into one place, which is, to me, affects one person, not 8 people. So you're spreading it.
Well, especially because that property's lower in the back, and that's what again, my concern with the easements were as well. So
And like I said, if you guys look at the drainage report and the model, and I can walk you guys through it, it is super, it would be extremely, extremely rare if that ever had water in it.
And then, I look at what happened in Tavares.
Yeah.
You're right.
I was going to say, I've seen rare things happen,
Even Mount Dora.
especially when it comes to the amount of increased development. Like, unfortunately, when you're talking about like these sand soils, you do have pockets of FTP in that area. So like water naturally congregates in those areas. So I just think that this is an important conversation to kind of take a little seriously, just in case that 1% is a little more than the 1% you think.
Yeah, and like I said, we're fully okay with if we can get, we have to get the rights from the HOA to make a direct connection, but that would alleviate any concern that anyone would ever have. Instead of going out into land and sheet flowing across the road and potentially in the properties, it goes straight into that stormwater system and goes to those ponds that are all the way down the west.
Now, what about the queuing for the signal? Is that, you're still working on that part? Because that's one of the things is the
That's-
bigger issue.
I'll run that by our traffic engineer, but that's the TIA that was approved by FDOT, Lake County, City, but we did have dual lefts on there originally, and we were asked to take them off.
There's, with 314 lefts, DOT requires you to have the dual left. I don't know who said to take it out, but it's gonna be a problem. With 314 coming turning left, like I just showed it there.
Yeah.
152nd cycle, it's gonna back up. There's nowhere for them to go.
Right.
The turn lane's too short. So you're gonna have issues if it's not alleviated somehow, that's all. So it'll come back to you or it'll come back to the state, one of the two. I'm just trying to avoid that, address it now before it gets.
Agreed.
No, absolutely, I appreciate it.
Also, you had said the site lighting, and then you used the word dark sky. Those are not the same thing, just for clarification. But if they're saying that they have the like what the site lighting was, that doesn't, we don't have just a reminder to everyone, we don't have a dark sky code.
I know.
So we need to make sure that we're giving the exact language. If we want to see those impacts, then we need to make those recommendations. But I also would like to see what they submitted to you. I think that I think it's a little difficult for us to kind of make a accurate decision and recommendation on this if there's information that was passed through this morning that we didn't get to see.
Right.
So, I mean, and these are not like little, oh, we can think about it and come back. I think these are big things that need to be, we all need to look at, make sure we're looking at everything accurately, especially because it does impact the community so directly.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Hi.
Thank you for that. We are under a time crunch with our gas station and grocery store. So a delay wouldn't be, we wouldn't be in favor of a delay.
What does that mean under a time crunch? Like,
Some of that is proprietary contract stuff that I just can't say. But we have to have site plan approvals and plat approvals by a certain date, or we're gonna be in contravention of our contracts, and they
but
can-
what is that? Please correct me if I'm wrong. If we don't have all the information and we're saying that we need that, what is that? What does his contract problem have anything to do with us?
He's just making his point.
Okay.
Yeah, and I believe staff has said that they have all the information and they recommend approval.
Right, but if staff has it and it's our job to review and look at things on a planning and zoning and we don't have it, I can't just take someone's word for it if this board is gonna be held accountable.
Okay. We're really talking about two things here tonight. We're talking about our wish to try to do everything we can for the neighbors, for the city, for everybody. Separately, we're talking about the standards for site plan approval. Your code says in section 123-43 that the city council shall, and this is under the review and approval of site plans, determine if the plans meet the requirements of the land development code, period. It's for approval purposes, yes or no, can we have an approved site plan? It is not a wish list beyond the code. It is, does it meet the code or does it not? And as quasi-judicial board, you've got to look at the competent substantial evidence in front of you and determine that.
Right, but if you are saying that you have evidence that you gave to the city, and we don't have that evidence in front of us, and you're telling us to review it based on the evidence we have in front of us, and we have concerns with that evidence in front of us, and you're telling us to take your word for it, I have a hard time looking at it accurately if you have just said that you gave them things that you didn't give us.
Right. That's our conduit, is through
Okay.
the staff. And
Well-
the staff is the expert who reviews and says whether it meets the code or not.
I hear
Yeah,
you,
but
but
then
I
we
also
can't
think
make
that
our
we
recom-
have, yeah.
She's right, we can't make our recommendation if we don't have.
And that's our job as the board.
Okay,
So how
well,
can we go?
So
to-
we're,
how can
we're
we go to-
experts in our own right.
Right, because our job is to make that recommendation to go to council so they can make the final determination of approval. And yet, if we are missing information, just like we were saying before, then we're not getting,
well then,
how can we do our job
perhaps the
correctly?
compromise that keeps everybody out of any trouble is to condition it at council upon review and approval of that final light plan that you guys haven't seen. It's governed by the code, and
Can we hear from the people?
Wait, I'm sorry.
I said, can we hear from the community?
Oh, you want to give public comments, is what you're asking?
Yeah, because, yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Anything else before I do? Because open up to public comments at this point. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Council. Jacob Sikora, 932 Black Oak Way, Highland Oaks neighborhood. I would hope the council, sorry, this is my first time talking at a city council thing, so I'm a little nervous, but I would hope that the council would disapprove of this ordinance. In my neighborhood, I get a lot of wildlife. I get sandhill cranes, I get armadillos, I get turtles, and I would hate to see that their forest where they live would be destroyed for a gray Publix and a 7-Eleven, which I really don't want either, because, I mean, both times I went to 7-Eleven, my credit card information got stolen, but that's beside the point. So that's my biggest thing is the sandhill cranes. I don't want to see the destruction of the forest. I know it is set as a, what's the word I'm looking for, as to be developed as a commercial area, but the whole destruction of that whole forest and the impact that I would also see in my neighborhood with the also increase in traffic going out. I mean, even at rush hour right now, I can't make a right turn because traffic gets backed up at the light with Citrus Grove. I don't like it. I think if anything should be approved in this land, at least keep 50% of that forest. Also, no more traffic signals because I don't think the solution is another traffic signal at that intersection. Anyhow, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Evening, Bob Twiggs from 781 Rioja. I, unlike the gentleman that just spoke, want a traffic signal. The plan shows one, but the DOT hasn't approved it. That intersection currently is very dangerous. There's been a number of accidents. Adding traffic to it coming out of the development and coming out of the commercial property onto that road without a signal is a death waiting to happen. As gentleman from Highland just said, it is hard to get out of development right now. Without a signal, it's going to be impossible. And it will back up the lane going north on 27, because not only do we have our existing developments and the new parcel, we also have all those apartments going in. They're going to dump another 200-plus cars into the 27 north area that's going to want to turn around to get to the turnpike and to get to Claremont via our intersection at Vino and 27. It's really very, very bad. And I think if it stays approved, it should wait until the DOT says yes to the light. Otherwise, it's a very, very dangerous intersection. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, Nicola Williams, 2141 Malbec Court. I just want to second that. Right now, that intersection is incredibly dangerous, and the pressure that you are getting about getting everything approved when we don't have any approvals yet on having a light at that intersection is incredibly concerning. We've seen quite a few accidents so far, And it's not just being able to get out of the community, but being able to get out of the community unharmed. And when those apartments start renting and we've got everyone doing a U-turn, we're trying to get out of our community and we have people trying to get into that plaza, it is going to be a death waiting to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy Simmons, 921 White Oak Way. The things that were mentioned here are what's important to me, the wildlife, because right behind that is a playground. So a lot of those animals are going to head into our direction and into that playground. That's the first thing that it's going to hit. And anybody that's out there, any children, you're now exposing them to all that displaced wildlife. And the lighting, how is that going to affect us on our end because we're behind it? So is that going to be too bright? Is it going to disturb us in any way? So all those things, I'd like to know more about it before anything gets approved. Thank you.
Kevin Balkasoon, 1945 Burgundy Drive. Like people said, I would also like to know more about the light pollution and the noise pollution studies that you guys said you were going to do. On one of the houses along that, like the 9 houses that are affected there, I live right next door to the HOA president. The drainage issue that you guys mentioned at that front house on the corner, I'm at the top of that supposed hill. A week before we closed with KB, they mentioned that we had to put a retaining wall in our backyard for drainage. Now, they mentioned that the soil's supposed to be good with, drainage and stuff like that. What concessions do we have that things aren't going to drain down from the top of the hill, not just there? I'd like to know more about that as well. And yeah, just if we're gonna be staring directly out our window, eye level with lights and whatever's going on back there. Thank you.
Good evening, Sarah Budwam, 2085 Mountbatten Court. Making a right out of our community is survival of the fittest. When you get out you have to get out of our community at 7:25 to be able to get onto 27. We have the lawnmower company that's making a U-turn to get onto 27. We have cars that are coming this way from 27. So if you're not out of the community at a specific time, there's no way to exit out of it. Getting into our community now, we have traffic this way, and this way coming in. I'm not very good at direction, north, south, whatever. But it is a nightmare right now to exit out of the community, especially during school hours. You're setting us up for failure. Okay, when this project came aboard, which was, obviously we have no control over it, it's been approved already, we just have to accept it. But our safety matters, okay? Our children's safety matters. I don't understand how a project could be approved without things being set in place in terms of our safety, in terms of getting out of our community and into our community. That is like the biggest concern for us right now because it's hard getting out. Imagine what it's gonna be like coming in. Have you driven by to see how all those apartments are going to be exited out on 27? How are we gonna make that U-turn to get in? We're gonna be stuck behind 10, 20 cars to get into our home. Our home is our sanctuary. You come home from a hard day of work, you wanna get home. You don't wanna be behind traffic. So that traffic light, maybe it wouldn't be on our corner, but somewhere within there, maybe the other corner, to help us to get out of our community. And I'm a little concerned with, we had 2, left that they were saying to go into and out of our community, and now it's changed. What else is gonna change? All these things are being brought up, like, yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and all of a sudden, well, it wasn't approved. So is this light not gonna be approved? What's gonna happen with us? So that's one thing I wanted to address. Another thing, the design of the supermarket and 7-Eleven. It's to match the community. If you pass on the outside of 27, let's face it, some of these buildings aren't the best looking buildings. So does that mean we're gonna have like designs that are like subpar as comparison to the hills of Minneola? So that's another thing that I want to take into consideration, how these designs are gonna look, because our homes were not $20,000 homes. Our homes were $500,000 and up. So please, when you're considering the design, think about us too. We're not millionaires. We want our house to be able, down the line, to be sold for what it's worth, not for half of what it's worth. So yes, is to match what's on 27 this side, but our side of 27, let's face it, is not the best looking side. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? No.
David Simon, 2165 Malbec Court, also the secretary of the HOA of Reserve at Lake Ridge. First off, I really like all the stuff you're doing on the native species. I completely agree with you because we're turning us, you know, what did you call it, a sandhill, into an impermeable surface and adding irrigation with houses right on the back of that berm. We can't be just adding water on top of water. The second one was in that sense, and to echo what Kevin said, the emergency outflow. One part we talked about during the original planning and zoning meetings and the, what was that called down here?
Workshop.
Thank you. At the workshop, I did bring up questions about the emergency outflow because of that exact corner and the proximity to the houses adjacent to it. Speaking with the engineers on that project, I was told that they were going to tap into that storm sewer, and that I basically put down my concerns at that point, because knowing where that storm sewer goes to is right behind my house in a gigantic area that was designed as the 500-year flood zone or outflow for our subdevelopment and this one that there, when it was all one parcel. So having that changed was a big surprise. Not too happy about that because, again, in the unlikely event in the 100-year storm, that water is going into somebody's backyard, where originally it was supposed to be going into a designed, you know, discharge to go down to a place that can contain it. So that's a non-starter for me as a member of the, you know, as a member of the HOA. That right there, it has to be changed, or else that's a huge safety issue. And then the traffic light, you guys heard it, I'm not gonna belabor it. And then the last conversation that we had as the HOA with the applicant was around October of 2025. There was some communication with different members of the neighborhood, not necessarily the HOA. We kind of got it figured out a little bit, but it sort of tapered off without a lot of conclusions, a lot of really good conversation. So they were, once we kind of figured out who needs to talk to who, it started really well, but we kind of haven't heard from them in a little bit. So just wanted to answer that from the HOA side, and that's all I have, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Amanda Spracklin. I live at 146 Gentle Breeze Drive in Quail Valley. I live in one of the neighborhoods where coyotes walk during the day sometimes because the ecological impact of all the apartments where I used to see green, that there's now I'm going to see apartments. I see hundreds of houses has greatly impacted, and I have a 90-pound English bulldog that I have to carry in sometimes because he thinks they're friends. I feel like some of the attitude of the team that brought the proposal was very flippant about, well, it's a 100-year storm, what could happen? Well, my retaining ponds that used to have no water in hurricanes now have water for days, and I've had erosion into my house from hurricanes. So it's curious that we just say, well, that couldn't happen when we hear that things are changing greatly. I won't disclose where I have worked, but I will say local hospitals are not ready for the amount of traffic accidents that are coming. Minor things, yes, but like a true fatality, you do not want to wait and get airlifted downtown. It is not an ideal situation for anybody. Just feeling like we should just keep adding and adding and adding traffic to a place that's already very dangerous. When we have young drivers, we have old drivers, we have people that have never looked up from their cell phone. Why are we creating more danger for everybody? Why are we creating situations where people are going to not have good outcomes if things happen just because somebody has a gas station contract that's expiring soon or whatever it is? I don't know, but it just doesn't really make sense to me that the attitude, it's just, it could happen, but it's not going to happen here. Well, it happened somewhere. I've had fatalities from hurricanes. I've had full paralyzations. It's very flippant when it's just like, oh, they can get out on the left 5 o'clock when nobody can. It's not safe.
Thank you. Anybody else? Not, I think,
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Gonzalez, 2172 Mulbit Court. First and foremost, this does hit home for me. I'm a disabled veteran. I'm actually Army retired, suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder from a serious car accident. Making that left every morning, I just can't imagine it getting worse.
Thank you.
Again, Eric Hernandez, just keep in mind that we did hold other 7-Elevens up to the higher standard of design after the one on 561A in Hancock did get denied. The other 7-Eleven that is coming up for proposal for approval in Citrus Grove and Hancock did adhere to those same design standards. Keep that in mind for you pass your recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. We keep hearing about the FDOT and the light. My main question is
When is that
like,
gonna happen?
what's their plan? Is there a fail-safe or?
I was going to ask that when he comes back up.
Okay,
Yep,
because I have
concerned-
like a whole rabbit hole of questions that I would like to ask for that. Hello.
George Gamarra, 757 Rioja Drive. So I just got a question. I hear people talking about the traffic lights and the amount of traffic that the new project will cause. So my question to the developer is, what are they gonna do to help divert traffic going away from our neighborhood? Because with the amount of people, traffic, there's gonna be people that don't live in our neighborhood driving through the streets. I mean, obviously, most likely, they're gonna be speeding. Again, an accident waiting to happen inside our neighborhood, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks. Mr. Crawford?
John?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the P&Z. The main question I can give a solid and great answer to is that our SCUs and variants, and you can't build the building of the size we want without the variants, are conditioned upon concept plans that can't be substantially altered, and they all show the light. If the signal doesn't go in, we have to come back all through you and through City Council with a Plan B. We've had enough conversations with DOT that we know the signal can be approved. Whether they approve our first submittal or make us change it again, we're not sure. But the project cannot move forward without that signal being in place.
So do you have any like updated information as to when, like, do you have an appointment with FDOT? Do you have dates with FDOT? Do you know like what the timeline is looking on that? And do you guys plan on starting development prior to that signal, or are you waiting until you get the approval of that signal to move forward?
The signal's in, it's almost 100% designed now. It's in review with FDOT. It's been about 6 months of going through the process. The signal warrant analysis, intersection control evaluation, TIA, it's all approved with the signal. So we can't, like Jimmy was saying, we can't do this development without it. So to answer the second question, we can't develop any of these lots without the signal.
So then, okay, so then that goes back to my question earlier. So we were told that we had to approve these things to honor their contracts, but if they can't do anything without the approval of that light, but yet they don't know when the light of approval is, then what are we talking about right now?
Well, wouldn't it be-
Because I mean, I feel like there's all of this pressure for us to make a decision, but they just said that they can't do anything without that light, and there's no approval on that light yet.
Wouldn't it be
So-
contingent on the FDOT's final report?
Would what be contingent?
You moving forward on the project?
Breaking ground and moving forward? Yes, it would be. However, our contracts, the way these normal contracts work is the buyer puts in time frame stepping stones that you go through. We have to have construction plan approval by X, preliminary plat and final plat by Y. The signal is not in those contracts, has got to have it by July 1st. We're not going to break ground without the permit for that signal, and we can't get a CO for any of the buildings without it being operational.
That's what I thought.
And
I question.
Yes, sir.
We've been kicking this can down the road for since a long time.
yes, sir.
So why is the urgency now?
He said because of his contracts.
Well, the contract is.
The only urgency that I would have before you is that staff has said they've got a complete packet, it meets the code, and they recommend approval. That's the competent substantial evidence that's in front of you. There's no reason on the code to postpone it. There are reasons that go into that first basket that I talked about, how we want to try to do everything for the city that we can. And that won't stop once site plan is done. There almost always is an amendment that comes back a year down the road when they're under construction. We'd like to talk to the HOA about the easement to connect to their stormwater pipe. If the HOA wants that, we want it. But none of those, with or without that pop-off or connection, we meet the code. We've exceeded all of St. John's River Water Management District requirements. They just almost quadrupled in the last year as far as the water that you have to hold. The site and the project can always be improved, and we want to keep on that path with the city and with our neighbors. But we need a recommendation from you guys. Honestly, we want a positive recommendation, but we need one way or another. And with the conditions that you guys have talked about, we would be fine with that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, do you want to make some type of recommendation?
I mean, I personally, with my integrity, I have a hard time making a positive approval here with knowing that we don't have all of the pieces. Like, I don't like this, oh, well, we'll approve it, and if this doesn't get approved, then it'll, like, that doesn't feel correct for me at all. Especially because there was a lot of questions that we asked, and it was, oh, well, yeah, we could do that. We'll talk to the HOA. Like, I think the conversations need to be had, and I think that that's the continuous issue that we're having here. Oh, hey.
Hi, Nathan Landers with Blackman Partners, 4440 PJ Boulevard, Suite 600, Palm Beach Gardens. Just to answer your questions again, as they said already, if you want to talk about the water, again, water management, we're basically approved with them. We're designing to that standard. Will we look at additional safety, or additional paths that could be a little bit better than that because of this circumstance where there's additional drainage pipe? Yes, we absolutely will. But again, we're still meeting all these standards. So to say that, we don't have all the information there is false. It's flat out false. So again, the traffic signal, we already said, we addressed that. The traffic signal is part of the plan. We are continuing down with them just as we're continuing through the city. You're one step, we'll go to the next one, to city council. That's what we're doing with them. And yes, we anticipate having full approval on the traffic signal by the end of July. So again, that's why all this stuff is lining up for us, and we do have contractual obligations. I'm sorry that's like a bad word in here, but it's not. If you're selling something and you want that thing to close, you have obligations to meet, right? You want to go on with your life and spend that money and do whatever you want to. So it's as simple as that. This is doing business. This is what we do. So again, we're following all the standards. We're meeting all those standards. And that's what we're looking for, is site plan approval, and we have met them based on the staff's recommendation. So we're looking for the recommendation from you all. Same thing.
So again, what I was saying was, we don't have the information. You guys gave information to the city. The information was given to them this morning. We didn't get that information, so that's what I was referring to as far as not being able to adequately look at everything because, you know, as it was brought up by your attorney, that it's based on the evidence that we have, and it was made very clear that we don't have all of the evidence. And so I want to make sure that that is my point that I'm making, is that if your attorney is saying that we don't have all of the adequate evidence, that's what I was referring to. I'm not saying that you haven't submitted it. I'm sure you've
Right.
done your
And-
job.
And as he clearly stated,
Okay.
we provide that information to the staff provides it to you.
Right.
We did not give it to you.
Right. It
Please-
was
please
given
clarify
to
that.
the
No, no,
staff
no, I
this
just want
morning.
you to understand
I
that.
hear you, and
But
it's
that's-
understood.
That's not our fault. We
And
should
it-
not be,
okay. This is fun.
totally fun, right?
Were you going to say something, Mr. Crawford?
I would just like to clarify that I don't think I said, and if I did, it was in error, that I didn't believe you had all the evidence in front of you. The legal standard is the competent substantial evidence that's shown before you. The only experts that we have had, one a citizen and one the city's planner, have said that as far as they know, we do meet it. There are things that we can do to improve, and we will. But I don't believe there's any competent substantial evidence for you to decide this case on that you don't have.
Looking for a recommendation on something?
Well, before I make a recommendation, first of all, I'd like to thank all the residents for coming and speaking up. It's very important to hear from residents. I will say this, growth sucks. It does. Trust me, I live by the MAC. And when I bought in the MAC, there was no North Hancock. It didn't exist. The Turnpike exit didn't exist. Publix didn't exist. And our vice mayor did not have a Papa John's sign flashing in his house like he does now. But after long consideration, growth also is good. I enjoy going to the Publix right across the street from my house instead of driving to Citrus Tower. I enjoy the luxury of hopping on the Turnpike in Minneola and not driving to Claremont. So I understand concerns with growth. I think that Mr. Crawford and his team have made very clear that nothing's going to happen without a light being where you folks need it to be, period. And I think there's been substantial evidence prior to and through today that we can make an educated decision. And I would make can I make a motion? Not yet. Can I?
Recommendation.
Yeah,
I mean, I just think if we have,
I make a recommendation to approve moving forward on your project.
Do you want to add anything?
Well,
Yeah,
it
conditions.
is conditional on the FDOT report, and I would like to look again at the drainage issue. I think those are the two big factors that a lot of the residents had mentioned, because the concern is traffic, safety, and such.
And the trees.
And,
Yeah, I
well,
was going to say, and
we all love trees, trust me. Now that North Hancock has been plowed down, I can assure you that I have more wildlife in my backyard than I ever thought I'd ever have. I don't know whether to go hunting in my backyard for dinner or go across the street, so.
okay. So we have a motion to approve for the conditions with FDOT,
We just made the motion. We just-
right. I want to make sure because the trees and staff recommendations should always
In the
be-
water easement drainage. So
Drainage.
it's
Right, well,
drainage,
that's what I
yeah,
mentioned,
he said drainage, he said the FDOT, and then the native tree
Native trees,
recommendations.
as you spoke eloquently about.
All right, Ken Rose made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second it.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Okay.
Again, for the record, Eric Rosh with Inspire, here in my capacity as a contract planner to the city. This is item number 6. It's a related case to the one you just took action on. It's the Minneola Commercial Preliminary Subdivision Plan. These were split into 2 applications because there's 2 separate requests. One's a site plan, the other's the subdivision plan. So this is the document that preliminarily subdivides the property into lots and tracts. Downstream of this process, they'll go through the platting process, and that's what formally subdivides the property. I'll run through the location, the request, and then the recommendation. You've seen this slide before. It's west of US 27, south of Vino Road, 21.6 acres. And I kind of glanced over this earlier. It's Zone B1, so it's approved for commercial uses. It has access from Vino and 27. This is the preliminary subdivision plat that they've proposed. They've got 9 commercial parcels that you can see, most of which front on 27. You do have one that accesses internally to the site, but it has frontage on Vino, and then you've got the 2 parcels on the south side. You've got 2 stormwater ponds. You can see the location of those. They're in the northwest corner and the southwest corner. They've got a private right-of-way, which provides access to all of the parcels. They've got 3 utility maintenance tracts, and they've got 2 landscape buffer tracts, one of which is kind of the small portion immediately adjacent to 27 in Vino, and then the rest of the perimeter is in a separate landscape buffer tract. And they're dedicating a 20-foot easement to the city for utilities along the front of US 27. This is the ownership and maintenance table. It shows the entity required to own and maintain all the infrastructure within the subdivision. You'll note that it's all privately owned with the exception of that utility easement, which will be owned by either I believe it's going to be the property owner or the POA, and then the city will have access to maintain utilities in that location. But everything else will be private, owned by the POA or the individual owners. We had 9 outstanding comments. They're really just cleanup issues, things that were shown on the site plan but didn't necessarily make it onto the subdivision plan. So I sent those to the applicant, and hopefully they're okay with making those quick changes. And we're still waiting a final response from Public Works, Engineering, Fire, and Lake County. So we would recommend approval, subject to addressing all those outstanding comments, including any forthcoming comments from the other entities. All of those divisions did review it as part of the site plan. So we're anticipating that their comments have been resolved, but if there are any other outstanding comments, we'll ensure that they're resolved. That concludes my presentation. And again, the applicant's here for any questions on the technical aspects of the application. Thank you.
Okay. Did you guys want to say anything before we get into the?
We are fine with Eric's conditions, the ones that he wrote to us that are the cleanup items, as well as the caveat that if Lake County has any questions or issues, and again, they've had the opportunity to comment, and we've addressed those comments so far, but if they have any in the future, we will certainly comply with those as well. I would just note that this does not approve any development at all. Well, I guess under the code, splitting of land is called development, but we can't turn a shovel out there based on the PSP. It's only the ground document that supports the site plans that we just talked about. And I do have people that know more engineering than I do who'd be happy to try to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Questions, concerns? You, Ms. Martin?
Who's going to be responsible for the upkeep of the landscaping on each parcel?
The whole thing. The POA is responsible for that. It's a property owners association that everybody has to belong to buy property in there. They pay monthly or quarterly dues into the fund, and it maintains lights, stormwater, landscaping, paving, and striping in the parking lot.
I feel like that's it for me for right now.
That's it for you, okay.
I have no questions.
No questions.
I don't have any other questions because I think that was just double checking. You already answered that one. Okay. Is there anybody from the public that wanted to come and speak about on this part? If not, closing public comments, bring it back up to the board. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve item 5, site plan.
Yep.
Minneola-
6.
Was it? I thought it was 5 and 6.
No,
Okay,
it's 6.
item 6.
Second.
All right, I have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh,
The conditions that we talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
We say it, I like to write it down.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Sorry, motion approved. Did we get it, all that? Get approved? Yes. All right. Then we are moving on to ordinance, or item 7, ordinance 2026-05, data centers.
Yes. Madam Chair, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Minneola, Florida, amending Chapter 102 of the Land Development Code of the City of Minneola relating to uses permitted within the industrial district as a special exception use upon approval. Amending Chapter 106 of the Land Development Code of the City of Minneola relating to special exceptions to create a new subsection 106-2G51 entitled Data Centers, providing for conditions, providing for inclusion of in the code of ordinances, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Good evening. Mark Twain wrote that the secret of getting ahead is getting started. So data centers are something brand new that, well, they're not brand new, but they're all of a sudden becoming, spreading out and becoming a lot more prominent in the news. And so wanted to give you a little bit of information about what's involved in data centers, and we're trying to get ahead of this with these ordinances. You have 2 ordinances in your package. One is kind of bare bones, and the other one's a little more detailed. We're asking you to approve the general, whichever one we can go with the state legislation. Our attorneys are working on a special conference on that to get more information so we can make sure that we can make it as stringent as possible without violating state statutes. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about that. They're going to have that more information, and then we'll amend and make as stringent as we can to go to city council. So we gave you kind of like the bare bones of what we think we're okay with right now, and we got like our dream package if we're allowed to do it. So our code, like I said, it doesn't have any specifically providing for data centers. However, advice from another jurisdiction that has been had a lot of massive data centers recently, they recommend that we provide requirements for data centers in our code, not wait and do it as a special exception or a conditional use permit. So, data centers is any kind of facility that houses computer systems and related equipment used for the storage and process of large amounts of data. This has come about with AI because it requires a lot of storage for all the data that's required to process AI. So more and more data centers are being developed. I'm not going forward. Here we go. Okay. Data centers require tremendous amounts of water and power to run extensive cooling systems that operate 24/7 to keep all these many servers from overheating. These systems can produce a hum that can be heard hundreds of feet beyond the facility boundaries. They also require large generators to provide power when the electric power grid is down. Okay. According to Virginia Commonwealth University's newsletter, generators that are used to provide continuous power to the data center can degenerate air quality and by releasing carbon monoxide, nitrous oxides, and particulate matter. Data centers can produce heat islands. Researchers and industry experts have a number of suggestions to reduce the heat island effect. This is caused the cooling units produce this large amount of heat called heat islands, and they can increase the surrounding temperatures up to 2 degrees Celsius on an average and up to 9 to 16 degrees Fahrenheit in extreme cases. So improved cooling technologies, site planning, and passive cooling are a few of the tools for reducing heat. Improved cooling technologies can recycle or dissipate heat. And by site planning where to locate data centers using more environmentally friendly power generation and strategic landscaping can help to reduce the impact on the environment, and largely populated areas can be minimized. Radioactive, not radioactive, radiative.
Yep.
That's a reflective type coatings and energy efficient building materials provide passive cooling solutions. Computational energy demand and heat generation can be reduced by software and hardware optimization. And believe me, I have learned everything that I didn't want to know in the past month on this. Data centers may be necessary, and with our ever-demanding technology, but the proper codes can minimize negative impacts on the area. And this picture will show you actually some of the ways that it can actually be reduced, the negative things. It shows the, I'm not sure how you do this. There we go. Oh, there we go. Oh, let me go back. There we go. Okay, so you can see down here, there's solar panels. You can see the windmill. That's ways of generating the electricity without having to use it off the power grid. And you can also see that there's lots of trees around to help, and foliage of different kinds to help absorb sound, to help clean the air. And also the roof gardens can also help reduce the heat that's actually coming out of the building and help generate cooler air to go into the building. So that's all I have for this. Like I said, it's a lot and it's very involved, but the idea is we want to have, like your recommendation, to move forward with the maximum that we can once the attorneys come up, finish with their classes on what we are allowed to do with the state statute. As you know, the state kind of has the control and the final say on things, so we want to be able to stay within the statute so we don't have to go to court on anything or get, have something overturned, a decision we make, but we do want to try to maximize the benefit to our citizens and protection.
Right.
So thank
I
you.
have a quick question for you, if you
Sure.
want. Just when you're doing all your research here, because this is new, and I know I understand the process that we're trying to do, which is great. I believe, isn't some of our surrounding areas, I think Lake Mary, they have one? Do you know? Did you do any?
I haven't been able to find that Lake Mary had one. It did, when I did some research, and I'm trying to contact some of the cities to get more information, like find out what they have, if they have regulations, or if they're using special exceptions or conditional use. But from my research, a lot of it's around Tampa and Lakeland and Polk County, and then Miami-Dade area and Jacksonville area. That's pretty much, it's kind of more on the coast and not, there may be one at Lake Mary, but not in the research that I found. Okay. But I know Lake Mary's doing a lot of advanced stuff, so with UF and also it may be they have some there.
Okay, just wondering.
If we hurry up and build out everything in Minneola, we
There
won't
will be
have the
industrial.
space for it. It'd be good,
Well,
wouldn't it?
this too would
This
limit
protects
it,
us.
if with what we're proposing, it would not be allowed in B1. So it would not be in like on 27 in these, up next to these neighborhoods and all, it would have to be in industrial areas. So our industrial areas are not necessarily right close to any of our housing, so it would have to be in there. And there's certain distances away from residential areas and schools that it has to be also.
25 foot,
So-
2,500 foot, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Opening, Commissioner Martin?
So for those of you who have heard me speak, I'm sure you're going to already know that where I stand on this. However, having said that, I do appreciate the city's attempt at creating regulations to regulate, restrict, and when appropriate, potentially deny future data center proposals. So I don't have to give you the spiel to know the huge impacts that this has on the ecological environment, as well as the impact of quality of life. But I'll just say them just to keep them in the forefront of your mind, because I feel a little bitter about this. But regardless, my first main question is, what criteria would allow the city to deny a data center application?
Well, if you look at what you have in there, number one, they wouldn't be able to go into a B1. Absolutely. There are certain distances away from residential areas, away from public school areas. There's certain, if we're allowed to pass the code we want to pass, that the state statutes will allow it, we would require them to have like these environmental protections, these things to help protect against the heat, the minimizing the water that they could use and where they could get it from, minimizing the electricity they could use and where they'd have to get some of their electricity from. So that's the purpose of all this, is to try to get ahead of this versus they're going to come. And we want to, right now, we want to try to do what we can. It appears maybe the state is supporting us, but that's what our attorneys are trying to find out for us, and then we'll find out in a couple of weeks.
So I'll give my recommendations before I ask more questions.
So I was just going to piggyback real quick on what Joyce keeps mentioning. So there's a new Senate bill
Yep.
that was passed and signed by the governor a few weeks ago.
Yep.
And it becomes effective on July 1.
Yep.
And so part of this exercise is making sure we are compliant with this new statute that'll go into effect next month, but also we have not had any experience with the statute, so we are limited on how we know how it would affect the cities and what challenges could be made, and what sort of items would be challenged by that statute. So we would like to hear as many concerns and recommendations so that we can take that and to further analyze the statute with what you would like to see in the city, while also connecting with some of our local municipal and county partners so that we can all be on the same page.
So, go ahead.
Eric, isn't this right up your alley with tech, and would you mind, you have a few words of advice? Thanks.
Again, Eric Hernandez, 1692 Emlyn Woods Road. So Ken, to your point, yes, to give the audience and the commission kind of a history of those who don't know, I do design data centers and networks for a major cruise line. I've been in the industry for the last 20 plus years. The presentation that was given to you by Joyce, yes, that is not even skims the surface of what data centers are. What she explained, and if you go back, here, I'll show you. So typically what this picture shows you, this is what you call essentially a hyper data center. This is where your Googles, your AWSs, your Azures, your Microsofts in the world live. I agree that this is something that's not needed in the city. However, we got to be very careful in the sense that data centers really mean a lot more than just this. You have what's called co-locations, you have what's called SMBs, which those are very smaller footprints, a tenth of that, and that's really what's targeting your main businesses within the city, where they act as your main backup hubs for any servers that they have, or any networks they have on-prem in their current location. Those require much less power, much less cooling, and even with the cooling, you do have multiple options. You can do closed-loop cooling, that's about 70 to 80% more efficient. But the plus side of those smaller data centers is the extremely high-paying jobs that those bring in, well north of 200 plus for the engineers that they do hire. So as a city, we do have to be very careful not to put a blanket statement saying no data centers, or we put an ordinance of saying we do not want data centers, because we are going to be choking ourselves of a niche area that could potentially bring good businesses to Minneola. Again, these type of data centers that you see in this picture up here, this is not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the much smaller ones that require up to 80% less cooling, and especially with some technology, you could even see less in some of the commercial buildings we see now. To answer your question as far as do we have data centers in Lake Mary, Chairwoman, yes, we do. A lot of the data centers you see are nondescript buildings. They do that on purpose. That way people do not know that they're data centers, that they could be attacked or targeted for attacks or for robbery, et cetera, because of the sensitive data of the nature that they have of the clients that they hold. So a lot of times when you see buildings going up the Turnpike or going up 95 that they just look like big warehouses or warehouses in general, more than likely those are data centers. Okay?
Thank you.
Again, the ones you see in this picture, these are the ones you see in Washington, California, in Europe, in Germany, et cetera. Those are your main AWS warehouses that contain the data centers for half of that side of the world's infrastructure. This is something where I guarantee you this will never come here just because it's not necessary.
So then, these smaller ones, if this is your expertise, sorry, if they would never be smaller than 10,000 square feet, you think? Because if we do put in like
No,
that.
so, yeah, that's a good point. So by small, I don't mean the actual size, because that's going to be determined by the tenant of who owns it, right? By size, I mean the amount of racks that are needed by a client, right? So for example, obviously, of course, everyone knows you're a CPA, right? And let's say you have a server in your office and you need to back something up, you would occupy one rack. One rack is 19 inches wide,
Right.
Very, very simple. The cruise line that I work for, give you an example, we occupy between 18, 20 racks, right? So it's not a lot.
Probably
when
the
you
size of
think
my
about
office,
it.
right?
So I think about it, it's 19 inches wide times 19, right? And we are a Fortune 100 company. So you can see that from scales, that's really not taking a lot of space. And that type of market that we don't want to, the market that we do want to bring to Minneola is exactly that. The ones that do take a much smaller footprint that will give higher paying jobs, and of course, the commercial tax base that we do need. These hyper data centers, again, these are your AI data centers. This is your agentic type of programs that you see out there, your Claudes, your ChatGPTs. That's where these type of data centers reside. Texas is a good example where they have a lot of these. But the data centers that I believe we may have an interest in Minneola will not be anything like this.
Much smaller scale, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Austin.
So I do have a list of environmental recommendations that I would like to make sure
Other
that,
questions? Sorry, before I.
nope,
Nope, got
you.
it.
that would like to be clear. I think the first one starts with water protection. I think making it requirement to use reclaimed water when available. I think annual water reporting is also a very good recommendation. And I also think water supply adequacy determination is important for the area that it's going in.
What was the last one? Sorry.
Water supply adequacy determination. Just so you know where my head was at in these recommendations, I was thinking regenerative system. So if we're taking, then we're putting back and we're not, it's like a closed loop system. So as far as infrastructure protection, I think a recommendation for solar power, whether it's partial or full, that would be great. Applicant funded infrastructure upgrades to include the solar power. No cost burden shifted towards residents, I think would be very important to consider in there. Generator noise standards. I think that there needs to be some clear language in the documentations that maybe requires the applicant to do a noise study prior to prove that what they're adding isn't going to have a negative impact on anything around, even if it's not directly impact to residents, because I know, as Joyce said, it'll be considered in industrial. I think that just to be able to provide that study would be important. I think we need to also consider dark sky international lighting standards to be put into place as well. That would be in their best interest because it's a low impact for not excessive lights. I think that we need to, I'm going to put native landscape buffering here, but I want to be ecological specific. So, for example, the main ecological imprints here in Minneola, we have wetlands, we have scrubs, we have harshwood hammock, we have sandhill, and so wherever the ecological specific imprint for where the recommendation of that data center should be, then that's what the native plants should be required as a mitigation to development. I think there needs to be heat mitigation requirements, public interest compatibility finding. So I know that Vice Mayor made some recommendations as far as why it would benefit certain things. So I think depending on each development, being able to present that information forward would be helpful. And then ecological buffering requirements. So this would be to include that improved cooling tech and things like that when applicable. I also think that it should be a requirement for applicants to provide the noise impact analysis, community compatibility assessment as part of any future special exception application. So, for example, if they wanted to go bigger than what this requires or whatever, that they would have to do the addition. They would be required to do all to provide all applications and things like that.
Should we put a
upfront.
size limit on it?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Well, don't we have a code in place for building size already?
Well, that's, yeah, but,
But this would be specific to the data
Specific
centers,
to
which
them,
would have a different environmental
which is why I
impact.
was asking what size, like, what would be the limit that we want to limit to? Because do we say
Maximum.
10,000, but if they can come in and be small, like almost the size of just my office, not the entire office, is that something?
Data centers are between 20 and 50, just to give you an idea.
20 and 50,000?
Wait, I'm sorry, say the beginning of that
For the
sentence again?
Boutique ones are between 20 and 50,000.
That's
Boutique ones
bigger
are
than
between
our
20 and
code.
50.
Yeah, that's massive.
Okay,
Couple of public
that's- Okay,
places.
so
Yeah.
then we wouldn't have anybody that would reach 10,000 possibly, but that would be a good limit. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez, Vice Mayor.
That's
Forgetting that part.
massive.
That is, I know, I didn't think.
And
that
I
would
think
be-
in the recommendations, wasn't it, what did the staff have in the original one? Was it 10,000?
Yeah, 10,000. It was 10,000 square
I think
max
not to
building
exceed
size.
our code of
yeah.
18,000.
5 MW power cap, 2,500-foot separation from home schools, churches, parks, 1 mile separation from other data centers, which I'm not sure, but that's, well, I guess if you look at that
Basically, they
picture.
can't all be on
Right,
the same
no,
grid.
that's-
Yeah, yeah. But I think the
Um,
infrastructure is very important that
Well,
they
that's
would
a
have
good
to.
start, man.
Absolutely.
They can, you know,
So I think, because I think those restrictions do limit a lot what can come in here, or like I said, then we can come in and set the limits even
Correct.
beyond that.
Yeah.
doesn't it do require a lot of water in,
A ton of water.
Well, and
Which- there was
so
something on the
Jennifer,
water.
correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, I think this might be an issue, and I need to look deeper into this, but there might be an issue with the St. John's Water District Management about the rainwater catch. So I know with data centers, there's conversations across the board where they're recommending doing the rainwater catch for easement as well, in addition to using reclaimed water. I don't know. I know that's a gray area in Florida with that, but if that's something that we can look into, maybe recommending the rainwater catch, because that's something that we're.
Sorry,
Like,
one
a
quick
waterfall
correction.
feature.
So the hyper data centers, like those do require liquid cooled. The more smaller ones are just standard ambient air conditioning. They do not require all that water.
Oh.
So, sorry to keep that in mind as well.
I know that in the, okay.
Yeah, so what you're thinking about the water chillers and all that, those are for the massive data centers.
Yeah, but even in ambient cool, like you still have, there's still the impact. And so I just think that just making sure that we have, I think the biggest thing that I'm saying here is that I want to make sure that we are putting in conditions and recommendations to avoid any, okay, so say one of them comes and they want to put different cooling systems.
Right, but by you limiting it even to 50,000, which seems like a lot, but in this world, it's not. Because of that limitation alone, they will not come. 100%. They will not. They won't even bother. Because what they're looking for is 300, 400, 500,000
I
square
don't want to keep that up to chance. I still think that we need to keep
Again,
the
you guys would, I'm just telling
Yeah.
you how it is.
Well, they would still have to bring it to the board as to
Right,
what they
but
were
that's what
doing,
I'm
and then
saying.
we
So I
can
think
kind
if
of
we
look at
make
it
the
case by case
recommendations,
at
then
that
it would have to be a
point.
special exception or anything at
since
that
it's
point. So I think having it in
brand new.
there to have a conversation about it is better than not having it. And then we're like, oh, well, how did that get past
No.
us? So
Agreed.
No, I agree.
sometimes it's better to put the limitations where they have to ask and we become the gatekeepers versus it not, and then,
Which
so.
we constantly hear how many times.
Yeah.
It's not in our code already, so we
Right.
just do what we do because it's not there.
All right, I'm
Yes.
glad we're all speaking in the same language.
Okay.
About 15 recommendations. You write that stuff down? You got that?
I've been writing as much as I
Yeah.
can. I read.
I got
my
them written down
scratch
too.
later. It's on record, as long as we spoke clearly enough, and Jennifer made notes, and they can replay it, and
So I do want the clarification, though, on the building size, because in the ordinance, we're saying 10,000 and.
I said 20 to 50.
no, in our ordinance, we're.
No, Vice Mayor is saying 20 to 50, but our ordinance is saying 10,000, so that's a big gap.
Yeah, but we don't want to, restrict it so small that we're not going to get the quality.
That was like one of my, what type of data center the city is
Well-
intending to allow is one of the questions I kind of had based on the restrictions.
Well, I don't think we
that-
know until we get a,
Well, and that's why he's saying that it would be 20 to
then-
50
Right.
would be boutique. So it looks like we have to expand that 10,000 in order to fit whatever it is that he was saying, but that's a big jump. That's a
well,
big-
but the other
that's a
side of the
big
coin on
increase.
that is like Vice Mayor said, instead of building a 50,000 square foot Walmart with $13 an hour employees, now we're building something that's going to bring a lot of money, a lot of tech, a lot of
Potentially.
potentially to our area, which is what we need.
If you-
Come up,
you got,
speak up.
yeah, nothing can be heard, but please come forward, and state your name and address too, please, for the record.
Walker, 13046 Plum Lake Drive.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
William Walker.
William, thanks.
From my understanding, and I am not an expert on data centers, but from my understanding, once that construction's done, those jobs will go down. So you don't need that many people to run a data center. So for those smaller ones, you'll need even fewer people. So I don't know if that's going to be a great impact for us. If we're not using the large data centers, we're using those smaller boutique ones. Like you said, that's not going to require water cooling. But if I'm not mistaken, that does require a larger draw on the electricity, right? So if you're not using the larger data centers that draw a lot of water, we're using the smaller ones, that means that they're not using water, so they're going to be putting a larger draw on the electricity.
Not necessarily. So they get cooled by ambient air. So a lot of data centers that you see, the smaller ones, they do have perforated grills, so they get cooled by ambient air.
They
The
push the air.
temperature between 74 and 76 degrees, which is like in here, right? So
Okay.
it's not as what a lot of people think of data centers as the big mainframes where it's 20 degrees and it's super cold. That doesn't really exist anymore.
So we're pushing a lot of electricity to the data center, and it's just automatically cooled, is what you're saying, by fans.
Correct, by extractors that extract hot air out, and then just standard fan coil units that push cool air in.
So that would be more electricity, no?
Again, that's when compared to
To nothing.
compared to, yeah, but
It would be an increase in
over nothing, of course. Yes, yes, but when you compare it to another commercial entity, no, the draw is not gonna be that as much.
But he's talking about the direct impact on our city, I think, if I'm,
Yes,
you're right, and he's talking about our
Compare
infrastructure.
50,000 square feet of commercial versus 50,000, again, just for numbers, versus 50,000 square feet of data centers. Again, the type of data centers that are co-located, the increase is not dramatic, as a lot of people think. Is there an increase? Yes, of course, there's an increase, but it's incremental compared to, what you would think, or what a Google or a Microsoft data center would require. And then to answer the question, yes, so during the construction of a data center, of course, there are construction workers that do build it, do rack, stack, et cetera. But these data centers are manned 24/7 by network engineers, by smart hands. What smart hands are, a lot of times, these clients that do require, let's say, the IT department needs to connect something or do something within their systems, they do call the data centers, and then the smart hands who are employed, they're 24/7, do the actual maintenance and are essentially, smart hands. They do what they're told to do. So these aren't giant robotic buildings. There are humans that do manage these data centers. They do work there 24/7, and like I said, they are very high-paying jobs. Again, it's up to you guys to make your decision. I'm just giving you, I want to make sure that you guys are fully informed of what data centers really are and not what the news and the media is portraying it to be.
Thank you.
If you wouldn't mind, and you may not know the answer to this, but since we know there is one in Lake Mary, do you know anything else about what their requirements or anything like that were? You may or may not, so.
I would have to look and see who owns that data center. As far as who's in there and their requirements, all that's NDA, so.
Right, now, I was just wondering, because most people don't know about it, like you said, so it must not be.
Yeah, if you guys want to do your own research on it, some of the bigger ones are Equinox data centers, Telefonica data centers. Those are the bigger ones. Verizon data centers. If you look at the one at Verizon in Miami, that's not a good one to compare though, because that is the DMARC for all of South America. So that means that all of South America and Central America internet comes out of that building. For those of you that have seen Skyline Miami, that's the one with the really big balls in it. Those are all radomes for satellite systems. So that would definitely not be coming in.
Well, we're making a recommendation to the council. You can refine it when it
Yeah, I
gets.
can.
That's true.
Listen, I can bore you guys on data centers all night.
So I think maybe putting a minimum and then maybe putting it like special exceptions for over like that 20 to 50, whatever he said. I think that that's a big jump. I like what the original recommendation is 10,000, but if that's not feasible, then I want this ordinance to be something that is feasible so we're not consistent, like getting all the pushback. So I think maybe broadening that slightly to honor that 20,000 square footage, and then maybe putting some language in there not to exceed 50,000 or something of that, but being very clear that the 20,000 is where we would like to be. So I don't know if it's like I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean? Like, so basically not everyone's coming and says, well, it says 20 to 50,000, so we're going to have 50 of the 50,000, which I know is not feasible, but a lot of people
So
coming
you're
in that.
basically-
So preferring people to stay in that 20,000 range, but allowing us the code to honor and take the exception to that 50,000 if necessary.
Understood.
We could do something that would make it like they'd have to justify with
Right, that's what I'm saying.
reports and.
Yeah,
And
right, like what
Increase
is
the
the need or
requirements
the,
if they don't-
exactly.
justification to city
Exactly.
council. they can-
Exactly. And I
Up
think
to
that
50.
providing for the 50,000, they would have to do environmental impact. So what would be the environmental impact if they did that? And if it exceeds a specific thing, then that's a ruse for us to deny. I think the other thing is going to be really important to make sure that there's no gaps and loopholes, because, people like myself or like Vice Mayor Hernandez are good for looking at all the loopholes and things. So I want to make sure that there's no gaps or loopholes in the language as well. So I recommend approval based on those conditions.
Second.
I'm not going to restate all of them.
Can you restate that, please?
Unless you want me to, but I think my
second it. I
son's
think-
running out of
I
snacks.
think that's a
We
good,
can listen to
that's
it.
a good starting point
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the
We have
ordinance,
a
and then we kind of
motion.
go from there.
First? Oh, yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah, if you want. do you
Yes,
wanna-
please come forward. And state your name and address.
Amanda Spracklin, 146 Dronal Breeze Drive in Minneola. I just want to say clean water and air are not limitless. Every tree you take down to put up another thing, you're paving paradise to put up a parking lot. More concrete, more heat. Everything's going to get hotter. We're already hotter. Aquifers are at like record lows. We're in a historic drought. We're talking about bringing in 200K jobs. They're not going to live in Minneola. They're going to hop on the turnpike and go somewhere else where they have space, privacy. They're not going to live here. It's not like 100 jobs. It's like 20, 40 for something that size, maybe. It just sounds like it's inevitable, so we have to welcome a data center. Well, is it going to be near Crooked Can? I don't know where the industrial places are. I can't see the maps from anywhere in this room. So you're going to have Crooked Can with your live music and the sound of a data center? That doesn't make sense. Data centers aren't inevitable. We're like less than 12 square miles. Why are we like doing this? If there's Florida law against saying we have to consider it, make a ton of limitations, there's not a need for this. If we all bend the knee and build all these data centers everywhere, we're not making them innovate, making them think of different ways to do it that don't take our clean water, don't turn our water system brown. I don't know. I live in a community where, as soon as they built all the other places, my water pressure halved. Like, where are you putting this that it's not going to affect us within the community? Where is it not going to affect our electric bills, our water bills? I couldn't really understand what they were saying about there's a hurricane and then who gets power first. Like, because my power didn't come back for 3 days after the last hurricane with high medical need. Does the data center get it first because people need to ask Claude or Gemini or Grok or ChatGPT something? It's very concerning that we're like, well, it's inevitable, so let's just make it so that we can get friendly things, because there might be one person with a $200K salary to live here. I don't think there will be. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just for her concerns, I think we addressed all of that in our conditions, to be clear, especially with the water impact and all the things. So
You got the catch.
yeah, I think all of her concerns were addressed with our conditions. Is it okay if I make the motion now?
Is there anybody else that wanted to come up and speak? That's ample time, sorry.
I live at 1307 Windy Bluff Drive, and I just was wondering if you have also implemented any of the other concerns, like the electricity safety, fire safety, gaseous suppressions, battery storage, safety of employees, or any of those things that could be possibly implemented into the language to protect our community?
Yeah, can you repeat? Sorry, your voice is so soft and so
Sorry.
delicate. You're so cute. You said something about fire safety. Can you repeat some of those?
Fire safety and protection, gaseous suppression,
Okay.
battery storage, infrastructure, design, environmental control.
Yeah.
those kinds of
So the
things.
environmental control we addressed,
Yes,
the infrastructure we addressed, the gaseous. I mean, I guess we did address that with the generator comment, and then the heat mitigation requirements. I mean, if we need to add specific language, I'm not opposed to that. To honor those concerns, but I don't think that those have any direct impact in this particular.
So one thing that she meant with the gases and the fire safety, so data centers, of course, since there are computer systems, they can't use water, so they use argon in order to suck all the oxygen off the atmosphere that's inside a data center, and that's what extinguishes the fire. Argon is an inert air, it's found everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that's what you meant
Yeah.
by fire suppression, yeah. So they do use argon air in order to suck out the oxygen. But that's held in environmentally sealed tanks, we use them on the ships.
Right, but I mean, like, that's also, talking about the conditions, we did cover that in the improved cooling
Right,
tech
again,
and
I'm just
things.
giving you the
Yeah,
history as to-
no, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm hearing her correctly and making sure that we addressed her concerns in the conditions. So I think that we covered all of
Yeah,
them.
I think
We
so.
just used different language than you, so I was translating lifetime.
I appreciate that.
No worries.
We speak layman's out.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else before we close public?
I want to say that.
No? You're back? Yes. go ahead.
Oh, well, hang on, he was talking to my 10-year-old, so he might come back with some.
Oh.
He's looking
He
for
might come back
snacks.
with some different information now.
He's so sharp.
I apologize,
So
but thank you.
I wasn't able to hear. Did we have a recommendation as far as the structure, as far as it fitting the architecture in the area? I know that we do some, like he said, they do things to make sure that they're not attacked. So if we are, I think it's inevitable that we are going to have data centers at some point. Just the same way as that Publix is gray and that 7-Eleven, I want to make sure that we
Well,
have.
some of that is in the code
Well,
already.
the purpose of the ordinance is to have guidelines for them to come in, but they're also going to have to bring us what they want, and at that point, we can discuss layouts, designs, eco, all of those other things.
No, but I do agree with them. I think
Yeah.
having some architectural standards and parameters is a great idea. See, talking to my 10-year-old is a bad
I was
idea.
just going to mention
Our
that.
architectural requirements fit industrial.
Don't act like you don't like this.
So to answer your question, so a lot of these buildings are going to be nondescript. So, you're not going to see any signage, you're not going to see any of that. It's just going to be just like another office building. And again, that's why I do it on purpose. That way they don't, nobody attacks them or knows what's in
Well,
it.
now you just told them their secrets.
Right? Everything.
But yeah, no, you won't see signage, you won't see lit, you won't even see.
I think what he was talking about was like specific architectural requirements, like
Right,
some
which
of the things.
are,
Yeah.
this would, a data center would only be allowed in the industrial zoning
So it would have
district. And so we do have industrial
Okay.
requirements for architecture.
Just to bring a real life, so a good example of where it could be, not saying that there is, because we don't know, would be like what they're building now on Hancock and Citrus Grove. So that type of nondescript building, that is typically where you would see, data centers look like that. Again, not saying that there are there, we don't know, because we don't own that, but that's typically what it would look like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we close, anybody else? All right, closing the public comments and bringing it back to the board.
Third time's a charm.
All right, can I have a motion for?
I make a motion to approve with all conditions stated.
I have
Second.
it first, I have
I
first
second.
and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oh, motion carries. Okay, we are now at, I believe, the final public comments.
We've made it to the end.
I know, I can't move my paper
Not
here,
yet.
sorry.
Sorry.
Well, we're at final public comments. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to bring up anything that wasn't any? No? Okay, closing public comments. And now on to reports.
Hi. I have some reports.
Oh.
Hi.
Well, why are you going to leave? These are great reports. Okay. Okay, so the first one that I would like to talk about is Mohawk Road and Old Highway 50. So the concern here is trailhead park improvements are likely going to increase activity on the already challenging intersection. So the recommendation is to request that council evaluate a traffic study in that area, pedestrian safety review, signal warrant analysis, and future traffic projections. As improvements of the trailhead park continue, I think it would be beneficial to evaluate this intersection before problems become larger. So that is my first.
Mohawk Road.
Mohawk Road and Old Highway 50.
I travel that every day, and there needs to be a light there.
It's right.
Because
And
when
that's,
somebody wants to turn left.
it is awful, especially at
Except the whole hill.
5 o'clock. So that is what I want to talk about specifically.
Mark, yes.
Lake County's already evaluated that, and they're working with the property owner. They need to acquire some more land, and from the property owner that's north of that intersection.
Okay. So my next one is still about Mohawk Road, so if you want to stay up here for that, you might have, okay. So Mohawk Road, this is specifically about the truck traffic that's currently allowed over there. Mohawk Road appears to be functioning as a cut-through route for heavy truck traffic, so they're
It sure
basically
is.
coming from Hancock to Old Wade High 50. They're cutting through Mohawk to get to Citrus Tower. And my house, full disclosure, backs up against Mohawk, so it is my backyard. So yeah. The main impacts is noise, resident complaints, which apparently now that I hold this seat, every neighbor has came and knocked on my door to let me know of their personal impacts on this. And there is 112 neighbors in my neighborhood, in case you were wondering. So they have all improved this. The biggest issue is that Mohawks is sandwiched between two neighborhoods. You have High Point Circle and High Point Club. And so with that being the main cut through, it is also, there's a lot of sinkholes, as you know, there's potholes consistently. That entire easement side between the sidewalk and the street has at least 4 sinkholes currently. And they're coming in and backfilling it with dirt, but it is going to continue to have issues if we allow the heavy truck traffic. And it is definitely, as you know, increased road maintenance and things like that. So my recommendation is there is a truck traffic study specifically, the origin and destination analysis, so figuring out where they're coming and where they're going, because I think maybe making that road a no-through truck traffic, they can go through Hancock, they can go 27, they can go on Citrus Tower, but to go through one of those, it needs to be considered a private road from the location. So I think it would be beneficial to evaluate whether the heavy truck traffic can be redirected to a more appropriate corridors while protecting neighborhood quality of life and roadway integrity.
Well, the issue with that is there's commercial businesses there. My
Right.
commercial business has big trucks come through all the time, so does Second Harvest Food Bank. There's a lot of huge trucks coming through there. The biggest issue on Mohawk is not trucks. I've been on Mohawk for 16 years. The issue is how fast cars, motorcycles, and trucks race down Mohawk in excess of 70, 80 miles an hour. Trucks are going to go through because they have to.
I don't think they
'cause it's a
necessarily
commercial
have
corridor.
to. If we put that consideration on Citrus Tower, they don't have to go all the way through Mohawk to get to your business. They could come off of Citrus Tower and turn in because the
They
businesses
still have to
that
go
are.
down Mohawk. They still go down Mohawk. I'm telling you right now, that's how it is.
Well, again, this is why I'm requiring an analysis to
Right.
figure out what the actual impact is, so it's not so that this way it's not hearsay. If we can do an analysis, that's my recommendation to council. This way we can see the direct impact, because right now that road can't handle it, period. There's potholes consistently. We already are dealing with traffic, so I think that creating a separate analysis for that is important.
Anything else?
Yes. I would also like to talk about the future landscape code discussion. I think that it's time that we request that council consider redirecting staff and planning and zoning to review the current city landscape code. I think that based on all of the different developments that we've had coming up here, we need to evaluate opportunities to strengthen the provisions related to native species, native ecological landscaping, water conservation, irrigation reduction, pollinator habitat, canopy preservation, stormwater ecological enhancement, and ecosystem-based design. So I think that native landscaping and ecological landscaping are not always the same thing. So as Minneola continues to grow, I definitely think it's worth discussing whether our landscape standards adequately reflect our long-term conservation, water resource, and community character goals. So I would like this to be a formal consideration for a future discussion regarding opportunities to incorporate greater emphasis on ecosystem-based landscaping, canopy preservation, and water conservation into the future development standards.
I know, Joyce, I believe you were working on changing that code, or?
We're working towards it, but again, we do things as quickly as we can. There's a lot of development going on too that we have to take care of,
And not only that, there is a state statute that prohibits us from adopting any codes that are more restrictive or burdensome, and that is set to expire if we don't have any storms in the area next year. So I would certainly take the recommendation, and we can certainly work towards something, but we would likely have to wait until next year to actually adopt something like that.
Well, I think having the discussion, because I don't necessarily think this would be more burdensome. I think we're dealing with a lot of issues that are environmentally impacting us negatively, so I think having the discussion needs to be prioritized.
Yeah.
The council's touched on this a time or two in the past, and we can certainly work on it more. We had IFAS come, Brooke Moffis, I believe, on a workshop to talk about our landscape code in the past, but we can have her come back. She's sort of the county expert on all things landscaping, and be happy to do that and invite her to come and talk with the county.
Like it, because that was one of the things I wanted to bring up
Yeah.
too.
And I think my last one, and then I'll be done, that if, just based on what happened tonight, so if the packet was going to be updated, like we had 3 different revisions of it, then I think making a public Facebook post allowing the public to be informed that the packet has been updated every time, I think that that's really important, because a lot of what we saw tonight was a lot of angry residents and citizens because they didn't understand or didn't know. Now, I do understand that the portal going down, that was no fault to anybody, but I think that if there was a proper notification to the public, then we would not have had a lot of the tension tonight.
Yeah, the portal went out nationwide. We weren't
I
aware of that.
understand.
Staff stayed late and they worked from home trying to upload. and-
But I think having that forward-facing with the community on Facebook, I think that would have alleviated a lot of the stress. So letting them know, hey, the portal's down, we have made updates, we don't know when it's going to be up, keeping the community in conversation at all times.
Yeah, and on the Mohawk Road, that's a county road, but we'll be happy to forward your request to them and ask that it be studied and maybe even put it in their
Who
traffic
maintains that
planning.
road? County?
Lake County.
Okay.
All right.
Those are all my questions.
Well, on that same topic, because these are things that, you know, how many times have we sat here and they're like, it's not in our code, for like example, the dark.
Dark Sky
Sky.
International, yeah.
That is something I would like to have, maybe we can put in there, because it comes up every time and we say it, we ask for it, and they're like, well, we're just doing what's in the code. Well, can we add that? Can we make a recommendation to bring that forward?
So I think there needs to be a discussion around Dark Sky International, because we have to be a part of the city has to be a part of like Dark Sky International. So, you know, I'm all for having those conversations, but I think those are things that would need to be considered for workshop, because there are requirements. I have all the information. Mark and I have talked about it before. We even have representatives from the city of Groveland who have successfully adopted these ordinance into their code, willing to help us in that way as well. So there's definitely options, but it needs to be like a workshop and discussion.
Okay, that's all. Landscaping was the other one I was going to bring up. But Commissioner Coy, anything?
No.
Commissioner Rose? No? Nothing. Jennifer?
No, nothing.
Joyce? Mark? We're all good? Well, and then that being all the end of the reports, I will make a motion, or I ask for
Motion
to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Good night.
We're adjourned. Good night.